the first of two meetings between the division rivals, and QB1 Justin Fields says he's happy to be back.
Of course, I'm really excited. I feel like the longer I was out, the more I wanted to play. I'm really excited to get back. This week and get back on the field with the guys for sure.
Sunday's game kicks at noon. The Blackhawks lost 4-2 to Tampa Bay at the United Center last night. Bulls play their second in-season tournament game when they host the Magic at the UC tonight. Big trade on the south side in the middle of the night. Aaron Bummer was sent to Atlanta for a package of 5 players. Southsiders get Michael Soroka, Jared Schuster, and others. Bummer has been with the Southsiders since 2017. Soroka was an all-star in 2019, but he's had 3 seasons of injuries. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager explains a glaring difference.
As I have said, and I'm not the only one, the primary difference between Hamas and the Nazis, since both wish to exterminate the Jews, one of Israel, one of Europe, the biggest difference is that the Nazis tried to hide what they did, whereas Hamas wants it publicized.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
Calling all Patriots. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me on the Patriots Alaska Cruise in June 2024. We'll dive deep into geopolitical trends and unpack the influences shaping the world today. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other Patriots on an epic 7-day journey. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. Join us from June 29th to July 6, 2024. Book online, patriotsalaskacruise.com.
Tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman.
Plan ahead for the dangerous situation so that they don't affect you and you can weather the storm and just sail right over it.
Call Steve for your own free consultation today at 833-945-7283, 833-945-7283, and be sure to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer.
It's 5:11. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Discover. Discover wants everyone to feel special. That's why with your Discover card, you have access to 24/7 customer service, as well as $0 fraud liability, which means you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases. Discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply. Well, we told you at the top of our newscast, CTA Yellow Line disruptions remain in place due to Thursday's incident. So shuttle bus is available between Howard and Skokie Dempster, serving all affected stations, at least for now. Wheaton, an accident early this morning, Butterfield and Orchard. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist Steve Williams.
A shower in the area early this morning, then clouds and sun today, the high 50. Clear cold tonight, low 32. Sunny day tomorrow, the high 55. Sunny to partly cloudy on Sunday, the high 54. Monday, clouds and breezy, the high at 50. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Light rain, 58 at O'Hare. 7:59 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Hi, my name is Peg. I'm a wife, mother, and grandmother. Family is so important to me, and I want to stay healthy so that I can continue to do the things that I enjoy doing with all of them. I would recommend Balance of Nature. It's so easy to do every day. I feel great, and who doesn't want to feel great?
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Well, they dropped it down the stairs and then they tumbled off their truck. But when they fell out in the street, I knew I was out of luck. I got the crash, bang, boom. Should have had it in the Staircase Blue. Yeah. If you don't want to lose it, put yours in the Staircase too.
Yes, Staircase has designed custom reusable shipping cases for everything from irreplaceable trophies to mission-critical scientific equipment. Cases that can take the crash, bang, boom waiting for it when it leaves your dock. Let us build you a case specially designed to protect your stuff. Go to starcase.com or call 800-822-STAR. That's 800-822-7827.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Are you tired of exposing your retirement to stock market risk? How would you like the potential to participate in credited interest from market indexed returns and limit the downside? Join Mark Kohler for the Retirement and Income Radio Show, Sunday afternoons at 3:30. You can also call Mark now for your complimentary customized retirement and income kit and retirement and income book at 844-619-SAFE. Get the information you need now. That's 844-619-7233.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching: Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, John Cass, johncassnews.com. John.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning,
Welcome.
everybody.
Thank you for joining us. I want to start with a question to you, John.
Yes.
Now that it's finally in full swing, it's only taken 5 years. Ed Burke's corruption trial, former Alderman Ed Burke's corruption trial. 54 years of dedicated service to the city. That's what the jurors are going to hear, at least from the defense. Why should we care about this trial, John?
I guess because they got him, finally. I mean, the damage has been done. The damage of the political class against the city and its people has been done a long time ago. So I don't know what.
Well, that's what I mean.
Gain out of it.
That's what I mean. So I'm a bit conflicted on it. I mean, I've said before, it feels like, getting Joey the Clown Lombardo when he's 85. It's like, okay, well, everybody knew for so long and nobody bothered to really, I think, effort to make a serious case despite knowing the graft that was afoot. And so now finally a confluence of events provide the opportunity to quote unquote get him, and he's convicted. And so what? I mean, so Ed Burke will always be known as a convicted felon, and that's some sort of justice for
It'd be interesting.
Chicago, but so that's on the one hand, I think that. On the other hand, I think, well, this is an important part of history, of Chicago's history, of Illinois' history, and it's the history a lot of people don't know or don't know very well, and maybe they'll come to know, and they'll look back at 50 years worth of the Chicago power structure and the Chicago residents and Illinois residents who support it and say, you know what, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to be a part of this. Maybe if there's a greater understanding, there'll be better choices in the future. And maybe I'm being naive.
It hasn't stopped. It's just continuing under a different form. Now it's a black machine that's run by Stacey Davis Gates and the Chicago Teachers Union, and Tony Preckwinkle's the boss of it, and nothing's changed. Nothing absolutely has changed. They're doing
I know,
the same thing.
but I mean, you took the time to write about this at johncastnews.com about how Ed Burke knows how this will end. He's seen it before. The experience of many of his friends, including one that's concurrent, Mike Madigan. But if it's important enough for you to write about and provide some of that historical context, then is it important enough for the people of Chicago to care about?
Yeah, I think they do care, but again, this week, downtown Chicago, we've seen evidence of complete and utter wanton behavior, wildness. The stewardess or flight attendant hit in the head with a log, now in a coma. The man beaten to death outside by the flyer boy. All that stuff is going on downtown right during the Christmas season. And this kind of stuff suggests and tells us that there is no such thing as order anymore, only chaos.
Okay,
if the
so
machine if Burke and the machine did one thing, it was to provide order out of chaos, and now there is none.
So then we shouldn't prosecute him. I'm opposed to his prosecution.
I didn't say that.
Then.
I didn't say.
Well, then why should we? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro line. 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. Why not give him a waiver for whatever his alleged corruption because of all the good he did to maintain the order? Look, things are worse now, so Ed Burke shouldn't be prosecuted. That's a position.
I guess not the one I'll take, but yeah.
Well, why not? Well, then why should he be?
He should be prosecuted because if he broke the law, there will be a trial to determine whether he broke the law, and he will be punished for it.
You're just detailing how we don't have the rule of law in Chicago, so then why should it apply to Ed Burke any more than it applies to your common street criminal, which, by the way, is how I'd largely describe Ed Burke, despite the pinstripe suits and the Lincoln Continental idling or Lincoln Town Car idling outside Union League Club while he has his Cobb salad. That's how I would describe Ed Burke. That's how I would describe these politicians. So if it doesn't apply to them, why should the street criminals? Why should it apply to the street criminals in pinstripe suits?
Well, Ed Burke would not. The criminals in the pinstripe suits won't beat you to death when you're waiting for your family to finish.
Yeah, it's a slow bleed instead. Right? I mean, I just wanted to, I'm trying to understand the thinking here because. I mean, we sort of have this perverse mentality with respect to these mobsters. Well, the mobsters in government.
Hero worship, some of that, yeah.
And so it's it's the corruption is part of our brand, like that's something to be proud of. And so it's like, they finally got Madigan, they finally get Ed Burke, but we're so enamored with the boss sort of model of government that, people don't pay attention. They're not going to pay attention to Burke. They're not going to pay attention to Madigan's trial. They'll get convicted, and they'll get whatever sentences they get, just like Verdoliak before them, just like Blagojevich and George Ryan and so many others before them. Blagojevich, a little bit of a different case because he celebritized his corruption. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? I want to care about it. I think it's important. 50 years of corruption at the hands of Burke and others, but it's a handful of people. We know their names. Look what the city's become. Well, they facilitated what has come to pass. It's not like there is a complete disconnect between the choices they made and the choices that are being made by the people elected today. And yet I get the sense that this is just, it's a city that works kind of mythology.
Yeah, I don't know. It's early in the morning for me, Dan. I just got out of Green Acres. I'm, leaving the pasture lands, and now you plunge me into politics and corruption immediately.
Hey, we start. We hit the ground running on this show, man. They made him a cop, and he went to law school. The law was his hammer. Now he wants the law, and now the law wants to put him in prison. An old man alone. This is not an excuse. He signed up for this. Wait, let me finish your words. He signed up for this, not a contract, but an agreement written in blood all the same. And now, as he waits for it, sitting in that chair next to his lawyers in federal court, the only thing left to him really is how he faces what's coming. I mean, that's in part your portrait of Ed Burke in your piece.
I'm being hoisted by my petard. Is that it? Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm asking you to elaborate.
Well, the only thing that he can do, as far as I'm concerned, is he going to take it like a man or not? Is he going to crack like a wuss and start squirting tears all over or not? I mean, I can just imagine how
Brandon
Johnson handles stress now with his panic attacks, y'all. He can't even handle that. So Burke, I think, will have to meet his end stoically in order to continue the myth. Stoically. Yeah.
I mean, I saw him walk into the pictures of him walking into court with his good wife, if you will, Anne. Yeah, former Supreme Court Chief Justice, State Supreme Court Chief Justice Anne Burke.
You'd think Tony Preckwinkle, the chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party, and Kim Foxx, her protege and state's attorney, would hold a day of remembrance and thanks to Ed Burke for raising money for them. I think for both of them, for mentoring both of them, for helping both of them. He doesn't get enough credit, Dan.
Well, right. Well, that's sort of my point. It's not just raising money for them and mentoring them. It's being part of the power structure that gave way to them, whether they ever understood that day would come or not. It's here. Coming up at 5:38, we'll turn our attention to more from the established political order in Illinois that Burke and Madigan gave way to, I should say. That would be Governor Jelly Belly with his big plan to spend $160 million of your money to facilitate migrant resettlement, comfort, job seeking in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Dan, good morning, everyone. We have 57 degrees and some light rain showers in the area. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott. Israel and Hamas appear to be negotiating a deal to free dozens of hostages held by Palestinian militants. The deal would reportedly free 50 women and children in return for the release of some Palestinian prisoners. Reports also say the exchange would coincide with a 3-day ceasefire. Swarms of protesters at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in San Francisco. Fox's Kristen Goodwin is there.
Protesters taking to the streets to have their voices heard as world leaders convene at APEC. Some demonstrating against China and its president Xi Jinping's visit to the city with signs reading "Rise Up Against Dictatorship." Others calling for an end to labor violations, accountability for human rights abuses, and reparations for climate change. Hundreds calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, blocking the Golden Gate Bridge for hours during rush hour, leading to dozens of arrests and towed cars. Officials say 200 people chained themselves together, tossing their keys into the bay. From APEC in San Francisco, Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
A jury has found the man who attacked the husband of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi guilty. The jury began deliberations Wednesday afternoon, and they reached a verdict late Thursday morning. David DePape was convicted on attempting to kidnap a federal official and assaulting an immediate family member. The gag order against Donald Trump in his civil business fraud trial is temporarily suspended. A New York appeals judge granted a request by the Trump legal team for an interim stay, arguing successfully that it violates Trump's freedom of speech. SpaceX moving their next Starship test and flight to tomorrow so a part can be replaced on a rocket. There's a launch window around 7 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. The UAW and General Motors, they've approved a new deal with that automaker. The vote was close. 55 to 45%. You'll need lots of napkins for today's National Baklava Day. AM 560's Bree Tennis explains why.
Today we celebrate the gooey layered pastry dripping with honey and chopped nuts. It's National Baklava Day. It originated in Turkey and was brought to Greece in the 16th century. It has deep religious roots. To be called baklava, it must have 33 layers of dough, as each layer represents 1 year in the life of Christ. But don't eat too much. One slice, 230 calories. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
State taxpayers are being told the Pritzker administration will spend an additional $160 million to address the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago.
The state is also funding a New Life team to deploy to the bus landing zone to ensure every new arrival is supported in a choice to seek alternate arrangements outside the city shelter system.
The funding will be used to set up an intake center, a winterized tent shelter, and help with other migrant assistance. State taxpayers have already spent $478 million. The NTSB continues their investigation after a Yellow Line train crashed into a snow removal train on Chicago's north side as it was approaching the Howard station. 38 were injured, including 23 who were hospitalized. One of those injured in the CTA Yellow Line crash is now a client of the Clifford Law Office and has filed a suit against the CTA. Chicago sports, Bears prepping for the Lions at Soldier Field, and Justin Fields is back at QB1 after a 4-game absence. Blackhawks lost to Tampa Bay at the UC 4-2. The Bulls take on Orlando tonight. The Cubs throwing their hat in the ring for baseball's top free agent, Shohei Ohtani. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7, around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago this Christmas season on their spectacular annual holiday tour. And AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the All-State Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
It seems like everyone is on a complicated diet these days. Gluten-free, keto, metabolic, sugar-free. And with these diets comes special dietary protocol and food products. You can find plenty of advice on your social media sites, but you need expertise to purchase the right food items. A visit to Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop is necessary to shop the best food choices for a medical diet or health plan. Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop stocks all the hard-to-find foods you're looking for, like wheat and dairy alternatives, sugar-free baking mixes, healthy snacks, and more. There's no longer a reason to put off that diet you're supposed to be on when you have Lil's. The staff has personally researched and vetted each item in the store and has plenty of choices in stock.
Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop on 111th Street in Mount Greenwood on the south side of Chicago. Stop in and shop in person or order online at lilsdietary.com and get your items shipped right to your home. lilsdietary.com. Shop, learn, and be healthy.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from HealthInsuranceMentors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
Pluto TV has all your rom-com favorites, all for free. It's TV the way it should be. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
5:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time. Inbound Kennedy right now is at 23 minutes. Pretty smooth O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays, however, on the Bishop Ford. You've got stop-and-go traffic between 115th and the Ryan Merge, and an accident in Wheaton, Butterfield Road, and Orchard Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Showers early this morning, otherwise sunny for the afternoon and cooler, a high only of 50 and a low of 32 overnight. Currently light rain, 57 degrees. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, John Cass of JohnCassNews.com and the Chicago Way podcast.
Good morning, Danny.
John, great to have you as always. All right, I got one more Burke question before we move on. Because he was characterized in court yesterday by the defense as an extortionist and by his defense attorney as a good man. In fact, Chris Gare, his defense attorney, said it was the honor of his life to represent Ed Burke. Defense attorneys. Extortionist or a good man, somewhere in between.
Did the defense attorney characterize him as such?
Good man.
Oh, good man, not extortionist. That was
No,
prosecution.
prosecution says extortionist, defense attorney says good man. What saith John Cass?
I say that like everything is complicated, and human beings fall in a. What would Dan Proft do? He would say that there's a great wide path that we fall in, right? We're not one thing, we're not the other thing.
No, I agree. We're, all sinners, so we're complicated, but on balance, I can't help but go back to...
I mean, if people think that I'm going to stand up here and now crow that Burke is going to go away, no.
It's not about crowing.
But I'm not going to.
No,
there are many of them out there in the media who are now acting like tough guys when they didn't dare question him when he was in his powers.
Dare question him. They served as part of his comms team.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I know. But I mean, you're not them, and you don't want to be. Neither do I. So it's not about dancing on graves. It's really a conversation about who we are as a community, if you will, talking about Chicago, Chicagoland, the state of Illinois, the kind of things we've witnessed and how we react to them, and it's also just an interesting case study in humanity. But my point, I was just gonna say, I go back to before this Burger King thing, which is basically like getting Capone on income tax evasion. I go back to Bill Cooley's stories about Ed Burke and when corruption was king. And, and again, I know there's been some pushback on what Cooley had to say. I mean, it's not like he was a choir boy either, so you can't necessarily take everything at face value that he has to say. He has his own axes to grind and perspectives and interactions. But the good man who played the game the old machine way.
Spencer Tracy, the last hurrah.
And that way fell out of favor, and he got caught in the middle. This is sort of the argument that. Well, I mean, this was the argument that was made in defense of George Ryan 2 decades ago, wasn't it?
There was no bar too low for the combine to crawl under or over to protect George Ryan. I mean, they're just worms of the first degree.
Well, I understand, but my point is to say that argument was made 20 years ago with Ryan. It's in part being made, not in court, but in polite society, such as it is, in defense of Ed Burke. Is that true? Is there merit to that?
I don't know. I don't think so. He knew what he was doing. He understood the law. He broke it, and now he's going to pay for it. The point being, though, we as a people, like as a roiling mass of immigrants in this city, trying to get along, trying to get ahead, climbing over each other, trying to climb up the ladder. We're all subject to the same pressures. And some of us look at a guy like Burke and say, if he could help me. Look, when my father was being shaken down for steaks by some city inspectors, do you think he cared if he had to pay for steaks? I did. I was like, oh my God, this is an affront to our honor as a family. But my father was wiser in those things.
Cost of doing business, bigger things to worry about
He's
than
like, calm down, son.
Than the corruption tax.
Right. Calm down, son. At least you know who you're paying. You know who you're paying, and they expect a service, and we expect to get a service out of it, right?
So do you think? So this prompts another question. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. If anyone else wants to get in on this conversation, or if this is more just things that John and I are interested in, nobody else is anymore. I don't know. I really don't. But so thinking about that.
Yeah.
And then people waxing nostalgic about the corruption tax, but I got the garbage can. Vote the right way, but I had police protection. Do you think if there is any sort of rescission that happens after the era of Lightfoot and Fox and Brandon Johnson and whoever may come next, if there's ever a moment where you can break and choose a different paradigm, like there was when Richard M. retired and there was an opportunity to choose a new paradigm, and instead you chose to hold on to the old one with Tiny Dancer, that's what we chose to do.
Yeah.
That's my assessment of it. If there's another break and there's an opportunity to choose a new paradigm, do you think that it's more likely that people try to go back to the Richard M. and Richard J., obviously by extension, or do they try to do something completely different that leaves the whole spoils system, whether it's the Irish or the Latinos or the blacks or whoever, that leaves the whole spoil system behind and does something different? What do you think?
We are now on the intersectionality highway. We're now traveling at the speed of light, right? So I can't see us leaving it behind. With all these DEI people and everything else, and all of it is like defined by race and skin color and pigment and gender and so forth. They can't allow any of this to fall because they want to hold their cooking utensils. They won't let them go. They won't let the tongs hit the ground, and so they won't let it go.
So it'll just be next man up, or next, I should say man, because that's individual. Next group up. So until the gender fluid have their day, we're just going to continue this.
I guess, yeah. And we're seeing at the same moment, we're seeing at least the machine provided some semblance of order, and now there's no order, absolutely none. when you have flight attendants and shoppers on Michigan Avenue blasted and put into comas by savages, as you were talking about the other day, you have no order. So what do you have? Nothing.
Bill in LaSalle County, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, John.
Hey.
1985, there was a revitalization on the Southwestern Avenue District on 61st and Western. You may remember it, John. Sears committed to redoing their store, remodeling their store, and Jewel Companies built a brand new combo store on 61st and Western. I was part of that management team.
I remember.
I was part of the management team of the Osco drug side of that store. And it was well known within all of the management people that Ed Burke held up the liquor license till 1 p.m. the day before we were supposed to grand open that store, because Jewel Companies did not play the game of giving honorariums or maybe pushing legal work towards him.
Yeah.
So he's been doing this stuff for, obviously, long years.
Yes.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It was a great neighborhood, and also I think of the Indian. You know, the Indian on, what is it, 63rd Street, the Marquette Indian, Marquette Theater? Yeah. Never forget it. The giant Indian on the street looking down.
And so the I mean, we'll get to it in more detail, I suppose. But what you're seeing now with the revolt is too strong a word. The pushback, the complaining from certain quarters.
What quarters?
And along racial lines, to some extent, about the migrants in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that as just more of the same group identity politics? We're in line and they cut in line. Everybody has to stay in line, as opposed to the perhaps an inflection point where you could see the city choose something markedly different.
I can't see the city choosing anything but venal corruption, because this is the place for it. This is how it. Because just look at the building codes. The building code, all the regulations are in place to exact corruption taxes from the people. All the heavy regulations, books thick with it. It's all about using leverage to squeeze the people.
Jim and Lyle.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
You know, when I was 18 years old, living in Billy Banks, 36th Ward.
How you doing? How you doing?
John, how you doing? I'm glad to hear you. But the overanalyzation and the romanticization of these people is just confounding to me.
Yeah.
It's 40 years in coming. We should be celebrating.
Celebrating what?
Oh, celebrating Burke's indictment, Madigan's indictment?
Absolutely. I knew this when I was 18, and I couldn't wait to vote against them.
Well, I know, but Jim,
how is that possible?
I mean, I guess the celebration is muted because of all the damage done and because of the conversation we're having, which is, do you get the sense that there's a recognition of the damage that was done, such that we're not going to do this anymore? Whether it's, and we're certainly, and we're not.
No, but I can tell you, my contemporaries who grew up with me in the northwest side of Chicago are feeling like I do, which is like, geez, it took them long enough. So I understand it's not going to cure what's happening with a stewardess getting hit with a javelin that consisted of a log, and it's horrible. But that's we can walk and chew gum at the same time, guys.
Well, can we? That's unclear to me. Thanks for the call, Jim. I mean, the whole celebration to me seems.
Well, I could celebrate if there's something to celebrate. On the other side, if there was something like if the city of Chicago and the county of Cook were working instead of being run by boss Tony Preckwinkle and Tim Evans and all that.
Yeah, that's not me. That's not where I'm at. My point about celebration is the people that say, well, it's celebrated, and even you say, oh, that took them long enough. Those are people, I think, that are providing absolution for themselves. I wasn't a part of it, but you were.
Because you benefited. no matter what.
You benefited. You took a knee. You turned a blind eye. It's the way it is. Took them long enough. I mean, for the U.S. Attorney's Office here, I mean, while we're talking about prosecutors writ large at the federal, state, and local level for all kinds of reasons, you know how, and of course nothing happens at the state or local level, and it hasn't forever. But the U.S. Attorney's Office and all the U.S. attorneys that have come and go and then flipped to become criminal defense attorneys and corporate shills like Dan Webb that were Elliot Ness once upon a time. We were supposed to believe. Patrick Fitzgerald too. Pat Fitzgerald too. Elliot Ness. Lincoln's rolling in his grave, and so on and so forth. All the big pronouncements. And what did all that amount to? And do you have any idea? Do people have any idea of the amount of corruption at the local municipal level outside of Chicago?
Oh, God.
They could roll up most of the village governments in particular regions in Cook County tomorrow if they wanted to, if anybody was paying attention, but they don't do that. So
the entire Southland for sure.
It's like the U.S. attorney that finally brought the U.S. Attorney's Office now that's brought these charges against Burke and Madigan, like they're heroes in the story. They're not. So I just to me, people who are celebrating almost anything that comes to pass are just trying to distance themselves from their participation, passive or active, in all that has transpired during the time. Maybe that's unfair. And by the way, I include myself. I mean, I fought some fights that I would fight differently in retrospect, or fights I wouldn't have taken up in retrospect. And people can, criticize me. I was in the arena. I would say this all the time. I'll take my share of the blame. I was in the arena. We couldn't get it done. We couldn't get Republicans over the finish line. I thought that we could tell some interesting stories at the municipal level and some municipalities that have historic corruption. We talked a lot about this when I ran for governor. John, you and I did a sit-down talking about my time at Cicero. But I'm not afraid to talk about it and talk about my judgment calls and perhaps the mistakes I made. But it just seems like most do not want to do that. They want to hurry past it all, say finally they got him. It took them long enough. I had nothing to do with it. Let's move on.
Move on.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think that people want to be distant. They want a distance from it. They don't want to, because they don't want to. People don't like having sinful hands.
or in this region, responsibility.
Yeah,
I eschew responsibility. Ken in Geneva.
I was just going to say I started listening to your program, and I have to go down to pick up my daughter for Thanksgiving, and I can't wait to see her, but it just makes me sick to think I'm going into the city and they want to go spend money at a restaurant, because these days the last thing I want to do is spend any of my money in the city of Chicago and have them benefit from anything. They just make me sick. The city's a great city, but the politics are criminal. I just wanted to change. Yep.
Thanks for the call, Ken.
People are making that simple distinction because they're not going to spend money in a town where they don't feel safe.
The city's a great city, but the politics is abominable. Well, the politics is the people. It's not the buildings. It's not the lakefront. That's what the city is. It's the people, right?
Yeah.
John Cass in for Amy J. Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
There's no ignoring it. Americans know they've been lied to by the ruling class, that politicians want more control over their lives and more taxes for nonsense. Who voted for this, and how do we get back to normal? It starts by being informed. But who do you trust when the media censors information and colludes with those in charge for their own political power? Breakthrough Ideas is a beacon of clarity in the storm of politics. At Breakthrough, Jeannie Ives and her team follows the legislation and the money and reports back to you so you know who's on your side. Elections matter. Be an informed voter. You can do that by listening to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. right here on AM 560. Visit breakthrough-ideas.com to sign up for the newsletter. register for upcoming events, and stay informed with fresh content. Then connect with them on social media and share information with others. So together, we vote out the radicals and vote in common sense. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
When you're in the market to buy or sell a home, commercial property, or even vacant land, let attorney Susan J. Kim step in. She's reliable, responsive, personable, and extremely thorough when helping you deal with an otherwise stressful transaction. Attorney Kim leads with her values and is committed to providing legal services with excellence. To contact Attorney Kim, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com. Whether it's drafting agreements, negotiating contract terms, or closing on a property, Attorney Susan J. Kim can do it all. Over 10 years of experience and her wealth of knowledge tackling complicated legal negotiations and breaking them down into a smooth, easy-to-understand process is what she does best. So let Attorney Susan J. Kim step in. To schedule your legal consultation today, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com or call 847-906-3166. Susan J. Kim Attorney at Law is a state of Illinois licensed real estate attorney.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:06, we will get to, after we had our deep discussion about Chicago politics, leaning on John Cass's wealth of knowledge. At 6:06, we'll continue to lean on that when we talk about the governor's plan for migrants in Chicagoland. But now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
The governor says the city of Chicago has not moved fast enough to provide migrants shelter. Bears visit the Lions in a divisional battle, and the Blackhawks falter. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Israeli hostages are found dead in Gaza. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. The Israeli military reports finding the bodies of a kidnapped soldier and a civilian in buildings near a hospital in Gaza raided by Israeli troops.
Israeli forces releasing a video of what they say is a Hamas tunnel on the Al-Shifa hospital complex. Now, it's important to note the Israelis have promised here they would be uncovering a Hamas headquarters. We've not yet seen any evidence to support those claims, but they did release this video and photos showing what they say is a Hamas tunnel, in addition to weapons inside the radiology department of Gaza's largest hospital. Now, Hamas has denied that they used the hospital as a headquarters and note that there are still hundreds of Palestinian patients receiving treatment there, including dozens of babies who are in desperate need of medical support.
Fox's Trey Yingst. President Biden meets one-on-one with Mexico's president today and then hosts other leaders at a retreat in San Francisco, wrapping up an Asia-Pacific Economic Summit. There's a new push to kick a New York Republican out of Congress.
House Ethics Committee Chairman Michael Guest will file a resolution to expel Congressman George Santos today. This comes after a committee investigation accused Santos of misusing campaign funds, including spending those funds on OnlyFans and Botox. Guest believes as chairman, he can send a message to other lawmakers that the expulsion is not being done for political reasons, but by someone who's familiar with the investigation. Santos has announced he won't be running for re-election, has called the investigation biased, and that members, quote, went to extraordinary lengths to smear myself and my legal team. In Washington, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
A deadlocked jury causes a mistrial in the federal civil rights case against former Louisville, Kentucky police detective Brett Hankinson. He fired shots into Breonna Taylor's apartment that went through a shared wall during a botched raid when Taylor was shot and killed. Her boyfriend fired first, he said, not knowing it was police who'd entered. America's listening to Fox News.
We We've had light rain showers this morning, 57 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer, and good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. State taxpayers are being told that the Pritzker administration will spend an additional $160 million to address the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago.
The state is also funding a New Life team to deploy to the bus landing zone to ensure every new arrival is supported in a choice to seek alternate arrangements outside the city shelter system.
State taxpayers have already spent $478 million in response to this issue. The city, about $150 million. The NTSB is now investigating after a Yellow Line train crashed into a snow removal train on Chicago's north side. It happened yesterday as the passenger train was approaching the Howard station.
Paramedics quickly began to triage and treat the patients. Head injuries, bumps, bruises.
Chief Keith Gray says at least 38 were injured, including 23 who were hospitalized. None of those injuries were life-threatening. Meantime, one of those injured is now a client of the Clifford law offices who have filed suit against the CTA on his behalf. Opening statements are expected to wrap up in the federal trial against longtime Chicago alderman Ed Burke. The former alderman had opening statements begin yesterday in his trial after 4 days of jury selection. No one is in custody following a deadly attack outside the House of Blues in Chicago. A man was outside the business Wednesday night when two men asked for money. One of them punched the victim before officers found him unresponsive with a head injury. He died later at a nearby hospital. And a rate hike requests by Peoples Gas and North Shore Gas are being reduced. The Illinois Commerce Commission disallowed more than $101 million to Peoples' rate request for its natural gas delivery services in Illinois. The Bears seeking their second straight win when they visit the Lions at Ford Field in Week 11. Quarterback 1, Justin Fields, says he's happy to be healthy and back on the field after missing 4 games. Blackhawks lost to Tampa Bay 4-2. The Bulls take on Orlando tonight. The news, a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains where his heart is.
The reason why I'm on the radio is because I say what I want to say. And my objective, my loyalty is to the United States of America. We better fix our own backyard first, or there ain't going to be no conversation about anything else but us crying ourselves to sleep because we did not pay attention.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Want a killer Black Friday deal? Get a free Moto 5G phone when you sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15-gig data plan for just $35 a month. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword SAVE now to get this exclusive offer and to select the plan that's right for you and your family. Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword SAVE now to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with a qualifying plan. A Pure Talk, simply smarter wireless.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm Carolyn. I have been in private practice of physician's physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe, breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course, through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's 6:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start in Wooddale where there's an accident. Wooddale Road and Mark this early morning. Jane Addams, an accident with 2 right lanes blocked. It's in Winnebago County along I-90 this morning, westbound at Harlem Road. Bishop Ford jammed up inbound 115th into the Ryan merge. The Ryan itself in the express lanes. You'll see brake lights inbound 43rd up to the Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
We'll pick up a shower in the area this morning, then clouds and sun, a high today 50. Clear and cold tonight, low 32. Sunny day tomorrow, a high 55. Sunny to partly cloudy on Sunday, the high 54. Clouds and breezy for Monday, the high 50. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Light rain, 57 right now. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, fresh off his appearance at our Freedom Summit last weekend. John Cass, johncassnews.com.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you, Charles Thomas, Scott McKay did the media rumble that I moderated. That was a good time.
I mentioned it on
very spirited.
I mentioned it in the column, and Tom Bevan picked it up and ran it in Real Clear Politics. So the idea was, do we get out the tomahawks now? I think so, and I guess Trump has taken them off already, right? He's taken them out.
Well, we'll get to matters national. We have this matter of Governor Jelly Belly.
All Jelly Belly is local, right? Okay.
Yeah, right. Rolling out his plan to provide funding for migrant setups in Chicago. And think about this. He rolls out his plan yesterday. BLM Brandon's rolling out his updated plan, whatever that'll look like today. I don't think this is synchronized. The relationship between the state and the city right now, that's an interesting angle to this.
Frosty, huh?
It seems a bit frosty, particularly when the ponderous governor says that the city isn't moving with enough alacrity to address the issue. Here's what Pritzker had to say.
To address this, we're investing $30 million to establish a large intake center, growing the city's capacity to centrally welcome and comprehensively coordinate new arrivals.
The next phase provides $65 million to assist the city in setting up a tent base camp to house 2,000 migrants. It would be similar to those in New York City and would be in addition to ones Chicago is already planning. The final part of the governor's plan provides another $65 million for other services, including helping 11,000 eligible migrants apply for and get expedited work permits so they can get housing more suitable than tents.
That's Craig Wall from ABC7 reporting. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. You happy to see the governor coming in over the top with $160 million of state funds for Chicago asylum seekers, in quotation marks. Right.
Is this
the
an
euphemism.
Office? He's just building an office?
It's $30 million for a central intake center, so $65 million for winterized temporary shelter to house up to 2,000 people, and $65 million more for wraparound services. And that's separate and distinct from the whatever BLM Brandon will throw onto the pyre in terms of cash tomorrow.
So is this like what? So you have space for bureaucrats to wear fuzzy pink slippers and process the migrants. Is that it? Come over here, get in this line, get in line A, get in line B. What's your name? Yes, sir. Like that?
Carlos Ramirez Rosa, the recently defrocked floor leader for BLM Brandon, responding to this. He's an alderhuman. He likes to push around elderly women on the city council, you'll recall. He tweeted, the city of Chicago, city leaders and residents have been asking for this level of assistance from the state for our migrant mission for many months. I'm glad that Governor Pritzker is putting forward these funds. Chicago and Illinois can be a model of migrant resettlement. Wait, resettlement? I'm hearing a lot of burden talk from BLM Brandon. I'm hearing a lot of temporary from both BLM Brandon and Governor Spalding. And yet from the one of the leading socialists on the city council, the word resettlement is used. What make thee of this, John Cass?
It inspires confidence, does it not?
Well,
it's just an ever-expanding welfare state. And you know what? There's nobody left in Chicago to pay for it. But enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, here's the thing, too. Why Jelly Belly intercedes now? Why not?
Because he's got a convention. The convention is in August, whenever, the summer of 24, and he has to look like he's doing something. Meanwhile, he's got black residents of Chicago who are starting to hate his guts. They already hate Brandon Johnson. They think they're both losers, and they can't take it anymore. So that's where they stand.
Well, I think that's right. I think that does largely explain the timing. You can't allow this chaos to persist through the winter and then ramp up back in the spring and summer, because that is going to negatively impact the ability of the city and state to erect the Potemkin Village, President Xi style, for the DNC, and this is going to be a Jelly Belly's coming out party nationally. So I think that's exactly what's at play here. But the frosty relationship between BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly, I suppose BLM Brandon probably still hasn't gotten over Jelly Belly's failure to endorse him in the election.
Come on, y'all. I have black children who play soccer, and I have a black wife. So come on, y'all. I can't every time I hear that.
He has a wife and kids at home.
I have a wife and kids.
He can't be worried about, Venezuelan migrants and people getting killed on the streets of Chicago.
I got to see my doctor for some meds because I'm having panic attacks.
Corey Woodlawn.
Hey, Corey.
Good morning, gentlemen. This was always about getting these individuals in here and replacing the numbers that they lost through COVID and through other measures. This was never about resettlement. Getting these individuals in here, helping them evade federal laws is crazy. And now they have a federal president that's allowing these individuals to come in. They've got the whole enchilada. And it's sad because nobody in my neighborhood wants to vote for their alderman. Nobody wants to vote for this mayor again. They're politically committing suicide, and I just don't see why they're doing it.
Corey, do people also hold the chairman of the Democratic Party to account here? Tony Preckwinkle, Boss Tony?
No.
Sensible.
No, they don't really associate this with Tony. They associate with everyone.
Well, she's not the lead.
They're associating this with their alderman, and they're associating this with the Mayor Johnson, and all of them are swearing to vote Republican or someone else in the next election. So I don't see why these people are committing political suicide.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that the people that you know who are otherwise locked in with the Democrats would actually vote for something markedly different next go around?
I have never seen them this angry. They have managed to unite a bunch of people that have never been united. They have managed to do that with this testing.
But Corey, we've seen this before, haven't we? We've seen promises. I'm getting off the plantation. You're not going to treat me like a second-class citizen. And then they get their check or their...
But you're saying what you're saying is unprecedented, Corey. You haven't seen it to this level. Maybe you've seen what John Katz is saying before, but not with the intensity of what you're seeing now.
Because this is a visual presence every day. These individuals are in these neighborhoods every day, and I mean, something before they could focus on something else. This is a visual representation to the people in the neighborhood that these people have done them wrong.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Good perspective as always from Corey. Our man on the street in Woodlawn. That's
a good one.
Clay in Libertyville.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Dan.
Hey.
Happy Friday, guys. Hey, New York Post just dropped an article. I don't know if anybody else caught it, but just 2% of migrant work or quote-unquote migrants in New York have applied to seek jobs in New York City. I'm a little more optimistic for Chicago. It's going to get a little bit colder, I think. I think these guys are going to want to work, and I think that number is going to be 4%. If we spend probably another $100 million, maybe we'll hit 4.7. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for the call, Clay. Well, this is a question that somebody asked yesterday, too. It's like, wait a second, they're in this country illegally. How can they even work? Yeah. So just remember that Mr. 10%, the big guy, President Biden, provided about $275,000 work visas for Venezuelan migrants specifically. That's a significant percentage of the migrants, both here and in New York. But it's not, obviously, it's not all of them.
You mean even those that were whining to the Tribune that the American dream is dead?
Well, some of those were Venezuelans that are going back to Caracas, they said, but to Venezuela.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to some extent, I don't blame them. Here, there was the promise and then the delivery. Welcome to the experience of Americans. The promise and then the delivery and the chasm between the two. But that's a part of it, and that's part of why they think they can largely ameliorate the problem by getting people access to these work visas and getting them, working whatever jobs they're capable of working. But it's just not going to be that simple. It's not going to happen in 60 days. And this still leaves out a lot of people who don't have clearance to apply for work visas. So this is a lot more complicated than this, 3-tiered turnkey proposal that you heard from Pritzker yesterday. By the way, one thing since New York was brought up too, this if people are not energized yet, they may be energized when this comes to pass. So Adams is slashing the budget in New York City to cope with the $1 billion they've spent on providing for migrants in their sanctuary city. NYPD officers are going to be cut by a fifth. K-12 education is taking $1 billion hit. Oh, man. And they've spent $1.45 billion in fiscal 2023 on the migrant crisis. Those are their numbers. And they're predicting to spend $12 billion within the next 2 years.
On migrants.
I mean, 12x what they spent this year based on, that's not based on temporary. That's based on resettlement, just to raise the R word again.
We have no clue.
Really interesting.
All the waste and abuse that's going on with all this money.
Well, but the actual program is starting to come into focus, isn't it? And New York, the lead dog here, and as per usual, as you know, John, if it's happening in New York, then you can be sure Chicago politicians will follow suit. Jim in LaGrange, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. Hey, John. Good morning. Hey. John, I miss running into you at Casey's Meat Market every once in a while, my friend.
Jimmy, miss you too, man.
Is that a singles bar?
Hey.
Single bar
market,
Single bar for suburban tax-paying dads. Yeah.
There you go.
Dan, it's not too far from downtown Hinsdale, so as you know. But anyway,
great.
So listen.
Love to go to downtown Hinsdale for sushi. Yeah.
I'll get my pea hat.
As we always talk about, follow the money. While they're wringing their hands and they're lamenting, oh my gosh, it's going to cost this much, they're smiling at the same point in time. These are big dollars, and it's all about the patronage. This is going to be a whole new army of people that are going to come into play that are funded on the backs of the taxpayer. It's really simple. Just follow the money, as we always talk about.
Thanks for the call, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to do. We're doing some digging on that, and hopefully we'll unearth some things, including what we talked about actually last time you were on, John, which is exactly the ownership group, the composition of the ownership group that owns that property at 38th in California, for example.
Yeah, is it Mikey Taden or some other how you doing guy?
I cannot confirm that at this point, but it's being looked into.
You know what? If there were we do have newspapers, the ones that you're affiliated with, and we have wire points.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for you guys, and CWB Chicago, we wouldn't have anything.
No, you just have these outlets that reprint the press releases that come from the governor's office and the mayor's office and declare everything glorious.
Yeah.
The glorious new plan for migrants.
I'm so glad, Brandon.
Larry Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I don't know what, before I get to my point, ticks me off more. Looking at that obese POS on the TV every time he comes on, or the fools in the brown shirts that drive him through McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's drive-through.
He's providing a valuable service before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
because,
but with all the money
when you want to eat that extra piece of pie, I just want you to think of him without his shirt, dusted with flour.
But with all the money we're sending Zelensky over there, they ought to start shipping some of these illegals over there with the money.
All right, Larry.
Thank you.
I still nobody asked. I'm sorry. At least I didn't see it. Maybe Craig Wall asked. There was this idea that Jelly Belly was open to using taxpayer dollars to move migrants to other communities they might like to live in. And
you mentioned it yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, and so I want to know if that's true, and if that's true, if he could distinguish between the governor of Illinois sending migrants to other communities that they want to go to from the governors of Texas and Florida doing the same thing.
Only Martha's Vineyard.
It's human trafficking when DeSantis and Abbott does it, but it's being welcoming when Pritzker does it, if I understand correctly. So if anybody could help clear that up, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Of course.
Paul and Carrie.
Morning, guys.
Hey.
Just to be clear, I am a cis white male who's married, who happens to be a white female who identifies as a woman with 2 children, white children. My comment is it not, in fact, illegal to use taxpayers' funds for what is considered an illegal act by those who have come here illegally? I mean, and additionally, where are the Republicans on this? I mean, can they step up on the plate? I understand the General Assembly is lopsided, but I mean, it was long ago it was time to take off the gloves and maybe perhaps get creative. Expand on that, please.
Yeah, hey, Paul, you're up there in McHenry County. Why don't you ask your representative there, Steve Reich? He's allegedly a Republican.
You mean DUI, a.k.a. DUI, Steve Reich?
Yeah,
or perhaps...
yeah, that's who I mean.
Whoops, that slipped out. Or perhaps our McHenry County Board Chairman who just got back from Japan on taxpayer dime. Perhaps he can help out. And has anything become of his trip to Japan? And alongside Rahm Emanuel, if you'll see that picture, it's comical. It's comical where our monies are going to, and everybody wants more money. All the school districts up here, it's simply maddening. They're all wanting more monies. It's
sure. I mean, your property tax in McHenry County are only like 3, 4, 4.5%, 5% of home value. That's not too bad.
Wasn't McHenry County just accused? Wasn't McHenry County just accused yesterday of rampant racism?
Oh, that was by the former Lake in the Hills trustee, who's now the chief diversity officer for CTA. They don't like people like me up there who they elected
They voted
twice.
for me twice, but
yeah,
they don't like
right.
me.
Anyway, thanks for the call, Paul. Appreciate it. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, so, I mean, the whole where's the Republican Party in Illinois, the where's Waldo, I mean, that's been a question that we've asked into the abyss for decades at this point. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, we should just have a simple state referendum that we should have an accounting for every dollar spent on an illegal alien, and then every citizen should get a check for that amount of money. We should have a state referendum, and if any politician doesn't support that, they should be voted out of office.
Like a hassle payment or what? Like they hassled us, and now we get.
Well, I mean, no, but I mean, think about even that. So they get $1, we get $1. But wait, I'm an American citizen. They're here most of them are here illegally. Most of them are not asylum seekers.
You're making
so even
them equal.
Even excluding the asylum seekers who are in this country, not because not through no fault of their own, because of the fault of federal policy that doesn't make them remain in Mexico, for example, pending the adjudication of their asylum application. So even setting aside the actual asylum seekers, how is dollar for dollar fair? It's not. Mike, Littleton, Colorado.
Yeah, good morning and thank you. And you know what? I would love to believe all of this indignation that it's on our side is going to do a damn bit of good. You know, that poor guy was saying, oh, you know, my community's pissed off. They're not. It will be the exact same thing. They'll vote their vote, if not for these two clowns, Pritzker and Brandon. It'll be two replacements that are just as bad. It's identity politics. They can't see through it. And as they become more emboldened, we become more dispirited. I mean, could it get worse? Everything your callers are talking about. The law is being broken in front of our faces.
Well,
in the middle,
Pritzker's paying for it all.
Thanks for the call, Mike.
He's subsidizing it, and he's paying for the Democratic Party, and you enjoy the party because he's throwing you a great one.
Yeah.
As your city's destroyed, as your county and state are destroyed.
But to Mike's point, look at the General Assembly, look at the ranks of office holders at the county and local level. There's an endless line of clowns at the ready.
Yeah.
Dan and John Cass. John Cass in for Amy J., Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Christian Faith Publishing helps thousands of authors just like you publish their books with a company dedicated to strong Christian values. And to help you get started, we want to send you our free writer's guide, packed with tips, tricks, and templates for authors. Christian Faith Publishing reviews every book submitted to us. And if your book is approved, we'll edit, design, print, promote, and distribute your book online and in stores everywhere. Imagine seeing your book in specialty Christian bookstores, Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble, and many others. It all starts with a completed manuscript and one call to Christian Faith Publishing at 888-521-4447. If you have a novel, children's book, poetry, biography, or any inspirational work you've written, we can help you get it published today. Shouldn't you work with a publisher who shares your Christian values of integrity and honesty? You can get your book published. Get your free writer's guide today. Call 888-521-4447. That's 888-521-4447. 888-521-4447.
Over 30 years ago, the challenge was accepted, and the Pride Stores has been redefining the convenience store experience throughout Chicagoland ever since. In the spirit of giving thanks this month to the surrounding communities for supporting the Pride Store's vision, you're invited to take advantage of their November promotion at the Pride of St. Charles. Buy 8 gallons of gas and receive 20% off your purchase at the Pride Beer and Wine Plus Spirits just next door. That's right, 8 gallons of gas gets you 20% off an amazing selection of local craft beers, high-end wines from Napa, Sonoma, Walla Walla, and Columbia Valley, plus a wide variety of Pride barrel picks. And don't forget about 93 Octane Brewery located inside the same building. Might as well get a pint while you shop. Offer ends Thursday, November 30th and valid only at the Pride of St. Charles on Lincoln Highway. With 17 Chicagoland locations, visit thepridestores.com to find the one nearest you. That's thepridestores.com. The Pride Stores, not your typical convenience store.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, boy, the who's who of corporate America showed up to cheer on communist dictator President Xi in San Francisco yesterday. I wonder if Tim Cook at Apple and Steve Schwarzman at Blackstone, I wonder if they would have shown up if Trump was giving an address as the President of the United States in San Francisco about the relationship between the United States and China. But they showed up for Xi and gave him a standing O. We'll start there. 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
6:32 on AM 560, The Answer. We've had light rain this morning. It's 57 degrees. Israel claiming to have found a laptop with important information in the Al-Shifa hospital today.
Israeli forces releasing a video of what they say is a Hamas tunnel on the Al-Shifa hospital complex. Now, it's important to note the Israelis have promised here they would be uncovering a Hamas headquarters. We've not yet seen any evidence to support those claims, but they did release this video and photos showing what they say is a Hamas tunnel, in addition to weapons inside the radiology department of Gaza's largest hospital. Now, Hamas has denied that they used the hospital as a headquarters, and note that there are still hundreds of Palestinian patients receiving treatment there, including dozens of babies who are in desperate need of medical support.
A deal could be brokered by the weekend, reportedly freeing 50 women and children in return for some Palestinian prisoners. The exchange would coincide with a 3-day ceasefire as well. UAW union members at GM have approved a new contract with the automaker, but it was close, 55 to 45% on that vote. Amazon is pulling 7 eye drop products from its site after a warning from the FDA. The FDA sent out that warning label saying the products were not approved. State taxpayers are being told the Pritzker administration will spend an additional $160 million to address the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago. The governor says the funding will be used to help set up intake centers and winterize tent shelter sites.
To get people off the streets as we head into winter, the state of Illinois will invest an additional $160 million via the Department of Human Services, specifically to address these bottlenecks.
State taxpayers have already spent $478 million in response to the issue. The NTSB is investigating after a Yellow Line train crashed into a snow removal train on Chicago's north side. Officials say it happened yesterday as the passenger train was approaching the Howard station.
They have a big investigation to do. Our OFI has to come in and take pictures. We have the police going in there to do an investigation as well. Then CTA has to figure out what they're going to do with all this equipment.
District Chief Robert Jurowitz, at least 38 were injured, 23 were hospitalized. 1 is getting set to sue the CTA. Opening statements are expected to wrap up today in the federal trial against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. No one is in custody following a deadly attack outside the House of Blues in Chicago Wednesday night. And rate hike requests by Peoples Gas and North Shore Gas are being greatly reduced. The ICC disallowing more than $101 million to People's rate request for natural gas delivery services in Illinois. Chicago sports. Bears are getting set to take on the Lions Sunday. Justin Fields back at the quarterback spot. Tonight, it's the Bulls and Orlando, while the Blackhawks lost last night to Tampa Bay. The news, a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka isn't getting the left.
Look at the left today, ladies and gentlemen. Look at their attitude to 2 wars. You've got to have your Ukraine flag on your front lawn without any thought because you're just told to. But when it comes to Israel, it's the opposite. What? Why is that?
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Pluto TV is your place for holiday channels, including Lifetime and Hallmark, all for free. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
6:38 and a check of the roads coming up. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time starts on the outbound Edens, where there are delays between Toohey and Niles Center Road. Kennedy inbound right now, 38 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Express lanes jammed up inbound Montrose all the way to Diversey. Ike stop and go between Manheim and Des Plaines Avenue, 42 from 390 into the old post office. Dan Ryan, you're stepping on the brakes inbound between 51st and 18th. Also delays on the Tri-State this morning, northbound between Roosevelt and the Ike. Jane Addams, 2 right lanes blocked with an accident in Winnebago County this morning. Westbound between Riverside Boulevard all the way to Harlem Road is your big delay and an accident. I-65 in northwest Indiana, northbound near 49th Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Showers early this morning. In the afternoon, sunny and cooler and a high near 50. Currently 55. Your next news coming up at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, John Cass, JohnCassNews.com.
Good morning, Danny.
Also, the Chicago Way podcast. Check that out. Sign up, subscribe to JohnCassNews.com for his insights and those of his many contributors, including his brother, Nicholas Cass, who I had the pleasure to interview for my Counterculture podcast.
How did that work out?
It was great. I mean, he's a font of international geopolitical expertise and information. We had a really good conversation. He's super sharp, and unlike most that come from the intelligence community, if you will, the deep state.
Yeah.
I mean, he lays it straight. So it's it was a refreshing conversation to have with someone who was at CIA, was at NSC, was at the State Department. I mean, so he knows a lot, and now that he's retired, he's very willing to lay it straight as he can. So check that out. That'll be posted this weekend.
Well, can't wait to read it or see it.
Yeah. I got a question. After listening to President Xi's remarks yesterday in San Francisco,
Biden didn't have his earphones on, and Betty and I were wondering how can he understand the translation when he can't.
They have a this relationship. It's almost telepathic,
like an implant, right?
Yeah.
Chip.
My question is this, though: whose propaganda is more distressing, the Chinese communists or the American corporatists?
Which one's more damaging?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. All the stars were out yesterday.
40 grand a piece, Dan. They spent $40,000 a piece to have dinner with the China dictator.
Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock and progenitor of ESG. Steve Schwartzman of Blackstone, Apple CEO Tim Cook, executives from MasterCard, Boeing, FedEx. Elon Musk, of course, was there too. He's a big beneficiary of Chinese communist state largesse. It's just the reality.
Steak dinner, asparagus, sweet potato puree, asparagus, broccoli, and green garlic pesto, or vegetable curry.
And these were the sorts of applause lines that this communist dictator offered yesterday. See if you'd be offering a standing O in response.
But both are the choice by our peoples, and both lead to the realization of the common values of humanity. They should be both respected. Peaceful coexistence is a basic norm for international relations. And it's even more of a baseline that China and the United States should hold on to as two major countries. It is wrong to view China, which is committed to peaceful development, as a threat, and thus play a zero-sum game against it. China never bets against the United States. And never interferes in its internal affairs.
Of course.
China has no intention to challenge the United States or to unseat it. Instead, we will be glad to see a confident, open, ever-growing, and prosperous United States. Likewise, the United States should not bet against China or interfere in China's internal affairs. It should instead welcome a peaceful, stable, and prosperous China.
Danny,
he has a lot higher voice than I expected. I love the female translator for Xi. But anyway, go ahead.
When they applauded, I was thinking of the politician in one of my favorite movies about the guerrillas in America. John Milius, Red Dawn. You remember Red Dawn?
Very well.
And the face of the pudgy mayor who sold his son to the Soviets, and they died and were killed by the Soviet army. And I thought of all these politicians and all these people out there that have dinner, can't wait to suck up to Xi and plant their lips on his ass. And I thought, my God, this is what's happened to our country. And I wrote about it this morning, in case you're interested, at johncastnews.com. The title of the piece is, let me see, Key Players Missing from the Big Biden Xi Jinping Summit. Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter? Where was Hunter, Dan? Was he there?
Perhaps he was in an anteroom watching on closed circuit. I don't know. He was there in spirit, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wall Street Journal editorial board, not exactly a Fortress America group.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what they had to say about these absurd remarks that were offered by Xi and applauded by America's corporate titans. The hollowness of Mr. Xi's remarks underscores how no one can claim they attended to learn more about the opaque intentions of the leader of the world's second-largest economy. They were there as a show of political support, which they presumably hope Mr. Xi's Communist Party regime will eventually reward.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of a paragraph that is a more stinging indictment of every single one of those corporate titans that were there to cheerlead these the agitprop, the silliness. I mean, listening, if you watch the whole speech, I won't get into the details, but just some examples. I mean, it was so kindergarten. He's talking about table tennis diplomacy and how a small ball opened up China-U.S. relations in the 70s all the way to the present with pandas at some zoo in California. And pandas have always been a source of diplomacy and relations between the East and the. I mean, come on, dude. This is a guy. This is a guy who has minorities in concentration camps. In addition to all of his other grand designs and the Communist Party's grand designs. I mean, could you imagine? As I said before the break, you imagine those same CEOs showing up for a speech from President Trump to talk about U.S.-China policy and America's interest, but they're there to applaud absurd lines from a communist dictator. Sad commentary.
But their money shows up in commentary, in analysis on CNN, MSNBC, New York Times.
Oh, I mean, of course.
They pay for these people to talk about the global community. We have to work together. And I'd just like to take a shotgun to their pandas and throw them in a truck and deposit it, give them to Xi. Like, here, Xi, here's your pandas. Now get the bleep out of here. Get out of my country.
Among the statements that you just heard there, and then they applaud like trained seals, trained pandas maybe, we don't meddle and you don't meddle.
Yeah, like warning.
We won't bet against you. You don't bet against us. We don't meddle. I mean, the Confucius Institutes, the spy balloon. Come on.
Right.
It's almost not even worth addressing. It's so obviously, patently
false,
ridiculous. Here's another one though too, because this was touted. Oh, we had this great conversation touted from both sides, corporate media side here and communist dictator on the stage in San Francisco.
The issue of fentanyl. I would like to let you know that China sympathizes deeply with the American people, especially the young, for the sufferings that fentanyl has inflicted upon them. President Biden and I have agreed to set up a working group on counter-narcotics to further our cooperation and help the United States tackle drug abuse.
Joe Sternberg has a really good response in a column in the Journal as well. The central problem in such a negotiation is that what Xi might want to offer the U.S. he can't deliver, and what he could deliver he doesn't want to offer. An example of this, that's just generally speaking, the whole charade of it. But an example of this he uses is the promises on fentanyl. China, for years, writes Sternberg, has been a major producer of the dangerous synthetic opioid and the chemicals used to make it. We know this. He goes on, previous efforts to enlist Chinese aid in cracking down on fentanyl-related trade have failed as promises never fully, as Beijing never fully delivered on its promises. Xi committed to throttle the production of some chemicals used to make fentanyl, but the U.S., in exchange for whatever Biden was offering, but don't expect this to be a breakthrough. The problem isn't that Xi is orchestrating some sort of cunning plan to addict Americans. It's practically the opposite. To the extent Beijing sees strategic merit in allowing this trade to continue, it's probably because the Communist Party leaders are making a perverse virtue out of necessity. They can't stop this drug trade, so they might as well try to take advantage of it because, as Sternberg argues, I think persuasively, they can't crack down on the wildcat pharma industry as its economy is wobbling right now, despite all of the propaganda about it growing at twice the rate of the United States economy in the last fiscal year. They can't do it, and so they're not going to. So it's a strategic advantage for them to offer those promises while having no intention of providing any aid and comfort to Americans and to American families who've experienced the loss associated with the fentanyl trade.
100,000 dead Americans.
I mean, the whole thing, again, is a charade. And instead we're arguing about, should Biden have called Xi a dictator? Anthony Blinken cringed when he used the D word, and so on and so forth.
Who gives a crap?
Well, exactly. Greg and Schaumburg.
GQ, John, and Dapper Dan.
Hey.
You began the segment talking about headphones, and there was a picture issued where every single person on the Chinese side did not have headphones on, and everybody on our side did. That's my first comment. I thought that was just striking, perhaps by means of education. But then secondly, the first major story that came out of this summit was the curtailment or the agreement to cut back on AI. That is crazy. They've got people sitting over there hacking us to death. And to think that they're going to cut back on AI research, that's nuts. If Trump was there, what Trump would have said, listen, folks, when you stop getting within 10 feet of our planes in international waters, we've got something to talk about. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Also, too, I mean, this is against a backdrop of TikTok. Well, it's circulating on TikTok. The Osama bin Laden...
the letter?
The Osama bin Laden letter explaining or justifying 9/11 as being bandied about on TikTok, where, by the way, more Americans get their news than they do on Twitter, for example. So it's not dominant, but it's significant. And we all know, as we've talked about in this show, that the TikTok version in China is very different than the TikTok version in America. None of that conversation, none of that is part of the conversation either. While he was stringing together these grade school cliches about getting along and peacefully coexisting.
Does it take much to stop TikTok in America? What does it take? What would it take if the president was serious to say no more TikTok here?
Jordan on Antioch.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, John. So, it's kind of funny you bring this up, but last night my son and I are getting ready for deer season, and we're out in the garage, and we're putting something together, and my son asked me, he's like, Dad, where are we at as a country? And I said, what do you mean? And then I didn't have an answer, because now when he brings it up, just like John, you brought up Red Dawn. So I'm looking at images, and so is my son. Thankfully, he's paying attention to that, of the streets of California where they mopped up the citizens of this nation and put them away for the weekend so that they could line the streets with flags of the Chinese government. And
cheer.
And and cheer for this guy. Like, I mean, you look at the videos and you're thinking, oh my God, this is the same thing they did in Germany. And for the same guy, basically, in a different suit. And then on the other side of the world, you have these disillusioned, brainwashed, unfortunate souls who are caught up in the whole trans movement and just will rally behind anything just so they can have a cause, because they're so lost. And they will support a regime that would willfully throw them off a building into a pile of burning bodies just to make the fires higher. And they support these people. And I have a 17-year-old son asking me, where are we as a nation? And I don't have an answer. I'm really, just sitting here today listening to that. This is the first time I know we talk about everything. This is the first time, the real moment, that I'm actually concerned about my country.
Thanks for the call, Jordan.
Jordan, one thing to say, your son is very lucky to have you, who's taken him hunting. This is going on now across America, and there are precious few Americans left teaching their sons the nature, to go out into nature and to stalk or to sit in a deer stand quietly, and what you learned from it. And I just want to say thank you, sir.
And have a conversation about America and America's future, what America means. We got an email. We lived in Singapore in the late 90s, and I ran most of Asia for a major electronics company. You couldn't trust China then, and after all their thievery and growth at everyone else's expense, they're more corrupt and intent on eliminating the U.S. a perfect match for the third Obama administration. Well, yeah, it's a mismatch, right? Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan, and great to hear you, Mr. Cass. We saw each other at Freedom Summit.
Yep.
Let me go off the wall here a little bit. China has a state press, right? We have a free press, but isn't our free press corrupt? They gaslit the voters in 2020 and gave us Biden by withholding the laptop. Secondly, where has been the discussion on the biggest threat to mankind? I didn't hear Biden and Xi talk about climate change. Where were they on discussing climate change? Did Biden challenge him on stop building fossil fuel plants? I just wonder. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Dan, John Cass in for Amy J., Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, not expected to be charged in the classified docs case, but he is going to get a strong rebuke from the special counsel, the special prosecutor. I mean, we'll start there with Brett Baer. What more can I say? Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Governor Pritzker says Chicago hasn't moved fast enough to provide migrants shelter. CTA train crash near Howard Street Station leads to dozens of being hurt, and no one is in custody after a deadly attack outside the House of Blues. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
A civilian and a soldier. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. 2 more Israeli hostages taken by Hamas terrorists last month are found dead, according to the Israeli military, in buildings near a hospital compound being searched by Israeli troops in Gaza.
The Israelis say they have uncovered part of a tunnel on the complex. They've also uncovered a number of weapons in the radiology department, but we've not yet seen any evidence of the Hamas headquarters the Israelis claim are at this location. A few days ago, we were with Israeli forces in Al-Shifa Hospital seeing the destruction. It's important to remember amid this story, there are still hundreds of Palestinians being treated there.
Fox's Trey Yanks. The Education Department lists 51 schools, K-12 and higher education, under an investigation for ancestry discrimination, increasingly anti-Jewish since the start of the war in Gaza. Anti-Semitic content on X, formerly Twitter, has IBM removing its ads from the platform.
The move comes after the nonprofit group Media Matters reported it found ads from companies including IBM, Apple, Oracle, and Comcast running beside pro-Nazi and pro-Hitler content. IBM told Fox Business it has zero tolerance for hate speech and discrimination and is investigating. While an executive at X said the company was, quote, not intentionally placing a brand actively next to this type of content. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
President Biden signs the spending bill Congress passed to prevent a partial government shutdown tomorrow. He signed it in San Francisco, where he met with members of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework established last year.
We've concluded an agreement to accelerate the clean energy transition in the Indo-Pacific region, including by enabling greater U.S. and private sector investment in clean energy innovation and infrastructure in our partner countries.
He meets one-on-one with Mexico's president today before wrapping up this week's Asia-Pacific Economic Summit and flying to Delaware. America's listening to Fox News.
.55 degrees. Skies are gray at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. State taxpayers are being told the Pritzker administration will spend an additional $160 million to address the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago.
The state is also funding a New Life team to deploy to the bus landing zone to ensure every new arrival is supported in a choice to seek alternate arrangements outside the city shelter system.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is expected today to release even more details about his revised migrant policy. The NTSB is on scene investigating after a Yellow Line train crashed into a snow removal train on Chicago's north side. Officials say it happened yesterday as the passenger train was approaching the Howard Street station.
When we arrived, we had multiple victims on the train. Had a little trouble getting down to the train due to the terrain and the downhill. When I arrived on the scene, you had the fire companies and the EMS companies in the engine.
Deputy Chief Keith Gray tells us 38 were injured, 23 were hospitalized. One of those injured is now suing the CTA through the Clifford Law offices. Opening statements are expected to wrap up today in the federal trial against former longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. No one is in custody following a deadly attack outside of the House of Blues in Chicago Wednesday night. Police officers found the victim unresponsive on the sidewalk in front of the venue. He died later at a nearby hospital. Former president of the parent-teacher organization at a Buffalo Grove school is accused of improperly using PTO funds. Megan Robin is charged with felony theft. The PTO executive board discovered the theft in September, then contacted Buffalo Grove police. Rivers Casino in Des Plaines says it was hit by a data breach. An unauthorized person got into the casino's network in mid-August, accessing files related to casino team members, customers, and online sportsbook customers. Bears and Lions at Ford Field. Justin Fields expected back from a 4-game injury absence. Blackhawks lost to Tampa Bay 4-2. White Sox sent Aaron Bummer to Atlanta in a midnight deal for a package of 5 players. It's 7:04. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher explains that the war goes deeper.
You know, I've got colleagues and friends, they want to talk policy and they want to talk X's and O's. Let me tell you something. It's bigger than any of that. This is spiritual, biblical chapters that are being played out before our very eyes.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
So what's the trouble here, mister? I don't understand what happened. I checked my stuff in Chicago, and when we landed in L.A., I came to baggage claim, and there it was, my $10,000 Canoma analyzer in pieces, completely trashed. Just the facts, buddy. What did you have it backed in? Well, just the box it came in, but there was all this foam and thick cardboard. It looks sturdy enough. That's what they all think, pal, till it's too late. What am I going to do now? My boss is going to kill me. Here's some good advice for you. The next time you transport anything valuable, put it in a Star Case, leading manufacturer of customer-usable shipping cases. So where do I get a Star Case? Now you're getting smart, bub. You can find everything you need to know to order one direct at starcase.com or call 800-822-STAR, where a friendly, knowledgeable sales engineer will be glad to help you design the custom case you need. That's starcase.com or 800-822-7827.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Want a killer Black Friday deal? Get a free Moto 5G phone when you sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gig data plan for just $35 a month. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to get this exclusive offer and to select the plan that's right for you and your family. Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with a qualifying plan. Pure Talk, simply smarter wireless.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE. 844-47-BIBLE.
TV news. It's a love-hate relationship. Well, let's be honest. More hate. We agree. That's why we're different. Salem News Channel has assembled the greatest collection of conservative minds all in one place. Home to Charlie Kirk, Hugh Hewitt, Eric Metaxas, and more. There's finally a place on TV for lovers of freedom like you. Watch anytime, on any screen, free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
7:08, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Turnkey.pro. Their team of veteran consultants know how to reduce costs and grow new revenue streams, all without having to hire on-site professionals. Turnkey has solutions for your business. Visit Turnkey.pro. Inbound Edens is 27 minutes Lake Cook Road to the junction. Outbound, due to an accident blocking two right lanes, you've got big delays between Montrose and Niles Center Road and 42 outbound to Lake Cook. It's an hour in on the inbound Kennedy O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike inbound jams up 25th to Des Plaines Avenue, 40 minutes into the old post office. Stevenson 37 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive, and the Dan Ryan 27 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
We'll pick up a shower in the area this morning, then clouds and sun, a high today 50. Clear and cold tonight, low 32. Sunny day tomorrow, the high 55. Sunny to partly cloudy on Sunday, the high 54. Clouds and breezy for Monday, the high 50. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
55 at O'Hare. Your next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas. Best beans, best roast, best coffee. Online at papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Inframe J, John Cass, JohnCassNews.com. John, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that special counsel Robert Hur, remember him? We put out an APB out for him a couple times over the last several months.
Has he disappeared?
He's just reappeared, apparently, at least per this reporting. Robert Hur is the special counsel that was appointed by Merrick Garland to investigate Joe Biden's handling of classified information to make it appear that there is one set of rules for all presidents, former presidents.
Including those who drive vintage Corvettes, right? And keep their records, secret records in the car.
You have to keep up appearances that there's equal application of the law. So Garland appointed Robert Hur, and then nobody heard from him again. Well, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Hur and his team are in the process of crafting a report on its months-long probe that is expected to be sharply critical of Biden and his staff's handling of sensitive materials, but isn't expected to charge anyone over the matter.
There's nothing like finger wagging when you need it.
So Trump is facing 40 felony counts, and Biden, Inc. is going to get a stern rebuke in a written report that's going to go on his permanent record from Robert Hur. There's your equal justice under the law. 312
When they searched his house, did they go through Dr. Jill's lingerie?
Her underwear drawer? Yeah, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. The Journal's report says the Journal's reporting on this says the Hur report could be out before the end of the year. Well, yeah, exactly. Let's wrap this up as we get into the heat of election season so Biden can tout his clean bill of health as you begin the primaries and caucuses coming out of the new year. That makes perfect sense.
Look, everyone's interested in all these issues of freedom and liberty and the weaponized government. But you know what the Democrats will play? Abortion, abortion, and abortion. That's it.
Well, not exclusively. I mean, the other part of this obviously is going to be threat to our democracy.
Well, that's us. That's you and me. We're the threat.
Well, I understand what they're going to say, and then this is a part of it. Obviously, Trump is, and then when Trump is ultimately convicted of some or all of those charges against him in the various courts in which he'll be tried, this is he's a threat to democracy. He did whatever he was convicted of with respect to classified information, with respect to the January 6th insurrection.
Burn the witches, burn them.
Yeah, this will be their marketing. Yeah. Trump and his merry band of deplorables are modern day brown shirts. I mean, that's literally what they're saying, that we've had to spend the whole week listening to the D.C. press corps pour over his use of verbiage back on Veterans Day, referring to predators in America's big cities as vermin. And, it's almost like it's a Keith Olbermann, Ben Affleck parody. That's right out of the Third Reich, which is literally what the D.C. press corps has been saying all week. It was actually put to one candidate who seizes the opportunity to turn the tables on the D.C. press corps when the opportunities present themselves. And that, again, is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Tomahawks.
Ramaswamy was on with CNN's Abby Phillip, and he was pressed on commenting on Trump's use of the term vermin, he is, using Mein Kampf as his playbook. I mean, that's what the D.C. press corps is saying. Here's what Ramaswamy had to say.
That language, they live like vermin. Do you believe that is, as your Republican colleague Chris Christie has said, neo-Nazi rhetoric?
This is a classic mainstream media move. Pick some individual phrase of Donald Trump, focus on literally that word without actually interrogating the substance of what's at issue.
The word was chosen for a reason.
We are in the middle of a cultural war in this country.
The
well,
word
you know
was
what?
chosen for a
It's
reason.
actually describing a series of behaviors. You have Antifa and other related groups that have been burning down cities for the last 3 years in this country.
Would you describe them as
wildly
vermin?
violating the rule of law. We have an invasion on our southern border. We have millions of people crossing our southern border. Let's talk about the substance of why we have to recognize that we're not in ordinary times.
Would you
so
use
the
that language
vocabulary of the
yourself?
vermin or not is not what's important. Well, I haven't used that language. So
So
you can
would
look
you?
at my track record on the campaign trail. I talk about the issues. We all talk about them differently. But what I'm not going to do is play some game of focusing on some word that somebody else said without ignoring entirely the substance of what we're actually talking about. A border crisis of historic proportion. Economic stagnation we haven't seen in 50 years. A national identity crisis and the loss of national pride in the next generation that's potentially existential for this country. Let's talk about our dependence on China. Today we're actually talking about Xi Jinping, picking on Donald Trump's word vermin to talk about that status quo. You know what's vermin? What's running around San Francisco on a given day before Gavin Newsom cleaned it up on a dime to roll out the red carpet for Xi Jinping. If he could do that for Xi Jinping, he could have done it on an ordinary day, and yet we're here sitting talking not about the substance of that, but on one word that Donald Trump said in some speech in Miami. This is what's wrong with the mainstream media. Focus on the substance and let's have an actual policy debate rather than talking to a presidential candidate instead of the policy substance of what's actually going on in the country, picking on some word that Donald Trump said on a certain day and asking me for comment on it. Give me a break.
Give me a break. They've been doing it for 7 years. Why stop now?
Hat tip to that.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
We talked about this at the Freedom Summit. The depth of the hatred toward American people can be felt every time you look at one of those exchanges. Who said what about vermin or some other made-up nonsense? And you hear the hate coming through it towards me, toward you, toward everyone listening. And we know it. That's why we're reaching for the tomahawks now.
Well, that's the you and me and anybody who would vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. Again, we're ironically National Socialists because that's what Nazis were. But regardless, we're authoritarians, we're threats to their democracy, and so on and so forth. And so they have to. I mean, this is like racism. If it's not there, then we will invent it because we have to keep up the appearance that it is. We have to push or manufacture momentum in that direction because we need that backdrop in order to make our case, in order to energize our base, in order to win elections. We have to engage in relentless fear-mongering. So the week before Vermin, what was it? It was the interview he gave to Univision where he talked about if I'm losing in a future election, then I'll dispatch prosecutors to indict my political opponent. And of course, what he was doing was illustrating what's happening to him, and implicitly suggesting what would be the reaction to that. And of course, the reaction would be the proper hue and cry that isn't attendant to what's happening to Trump, which explains the hypocrisy of the D.C. press corps and the left generally. But they need those kind of statements. And again, over the last 7 years, how many times have I lamented Trump's lack of precision with words and how he could phrase things better to drive home the point better.
And kill it. He could kill it like a great Serb every time, every day. There's plenty of information for him.
Well, and here's the thing. Even people who've been critical of Trump, I mean, including in the press corps, the Brit Humes of the world, for example, all of this effort to make Trump, Stalin, Hitler, Mao, Mussolini. It's like, oh, by the way, he was the president for 4 years. People remember this, and it was nothing of the sort. Again, to repeat, he was really, generally speaking, other than his rhetorical flourishes, a conventional politician when it came to policymaking. And to the extent that he tried to do something that was dubious constitutionally, then he got slapped back, just as previous presidents and the current president have. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have not, including Obama, with respect to, for example, border policy. But it was all conventional, and Congress wasn't suspended, and neither was the court system. And you had to fight out these policy battles in all of the venues, within all of the three branches. It was positively conventional minus the rhetoric, but yet they think and they know they need to sell this one more time. And that's what they're trying to do.
That's all they've got. But I love Vivek. I know that there's problems with him, and he, as you mentioned months ago, there's a certain like a carnival barker aspect to him, like the Music Man aspect to him.
Yes.
Little slick. But aside from that, he articulates the point very importantly and well.
He's a smart guy, but he's not going to be the nominee. He's not going to be the VP, probably. But it's just
I'll be damned if it's Nikki Haley, because I'm not going to send my sons to war.
Well, I understand that, but the Ramaswamy thing. I mean, he's very good, and this is why he's risen to such some prominence. But I mean, it's the look. You're talking about the President of the United States. It's the lack of a record, even though he does have some business success. I mean, to pull off what Trump pulled off in 2016 is
phenomenal.
It's a lot, but it's sort of a lottery ticket, and it's completely right, and it not completely, but it is partly right place, right time. And that's just not the dynamic this go around. But anyway, I mean, he serves a useful purpose, does Ramaswamy, and he's helping himself by providing the articulate counterattacks to the propagandizing by the D.C. press corps. That's for sure.
Trump DeSantis is the ticket that will win.
That's not going to be the ticket. Grant and Rockford.
Good morning, you two. Listen, Vivek, I agree with you. He's great VP material. He never will be. But like you said earlier in the week, RNC chair right there. He'd tell the mainstream media where to get off. Or, I mean, Trump, God willing, Trump wins. Put him out there as press secretary. You thought that Haley McEnany made mincemeat of Jim Acosta. He'll put that guy through the meat grinder. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, Grant. Matt, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, John. I just want to say that after that clip you just played, as much as I like DeSantis, and think he's probably the best thing after Trump, I feel like nobody can articulate the way Vivek does. Just the way he does it. I mean, first of all, I'd love to see Vivek debate Joe Biden.
He doesn't give two figs, does he?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Matt. Yeah, Vivek Joe Biden would be punishing for Joe Biden and for us to watch, although entertaining in a perverse way. It made such a mismatch. Rich in Woodstock.
Yeah, you know what? With the media going after Trump, calling him Hitler and stuff now, it occurs to me that when Bush was president, not that I'm a real big fan of George W., they were doing the same thing. I remember NBC telling us that Bush was Hitler.
That's right.
It's like
Reagan was Hitler, Bush was Hitler.
Romney was Hitler. I mean, can you imagine somebody as milquetoast as Romney? He was also
Romney was a dog killer and a binder of women organizer.
Yeah, but he was a despot.
Yeah.
I mean, every Republican, regardless of their views, regardless of their record,
authoritarian.
They don't have to listen. This isn't about listening. This isn't about having to respond on the substance. That's the point that Ramaswamy is making. This is just about the wraparound smear. This is just about a name calling and then merchandise it and use the blowtorches that we have.
Who buys it? Who buys this nonsense? Who buys the nonsense that he's Hitler? Besides a few deranged journos that I used to work with.
Oh, I think it's a lot more than that, don't you? There's a lot of people running around with Ivy League degrees that buy it.
The people on TikTok.
There's a lot of people running around that are professors at Ivy League schools that buy it and promote it. Frank, Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. Well, these polls that came out lately are pretty interesting, showing Robert F. Kennedy at 21, 22% in a three-way race, and it was in several polls that these numbers were there. And I wonder what kind of role he's going to play. Could he possibly win? I mean, that's kind of surprising for him to be at that level this early in the process as a third party. He's certainly taking votes from Trump. There's a certain Kennedy mystique with a lot of baby boomers, too. I wonder how much he'll be taking from Biden. And, I think a problem for a lot of us is with Trump, and why Ramaswamy has been so appealing to some is because Trump did a horrible job handling the bureaucracy. And what makes any of us think it's going to be any different this time? So,
thanks for the call, Frank. Well, I mean, I think part of what makes it different this time is learned experience, not to mention the, let's just say the incentive he has based on what has transpired at the end of his presidency to present to do more than just take rhetorical postures and hope that his cabinet secretaries do what they should do with respect to trying to reining in the fourth branch of government. I think there's a lot more intensity around that, or there would be if Trump were reelected.
Trump needs somebody who understands what the deep state really is, and he has to dismantle it. I think Ramaswamy knows.
Well,
I hope DeSantis knows. What concerns me, though, Dan, is your suggestion or dismissal that there won't be a Trump-DeSantis ticket, that DeSantis should not be the vice president.
No, it's not. Not that he shouldn't be. He's just not going to be. He's just not going to be selected by Trump. I just think that's, and I don't know that he would want that position anyway. But I just think that it's probably a bridge too far for Trump, maybe for both of them at this point.
So he reaches out to Nikki Haley and the neocons?
No, he's not. It's not going to be Nikki Haley. But I think Trump is not going to put anyone with him that upstages him. It's going to be somebody who is either attractive or vanilla, or maybe a combination of the two, if you can find that.
Pence, yeah. Right.
Well, that's sort of my point.
Right.
With respect to RFK, yeah, I mean, I think that number will recede. I mean, particularly when you have more potential third-party candidates in, Jill Stein, maybe Joe Manchin, no labels.
Put some shoes on when he goes use the washroom on a plane.
Well,
I would very much appreciate that if he had
okay.
shoes.
Well, and also, I mean, if he's on a debate stage, there's going to be a little bit more thorough vetting of what RFK Jr.'s positions and views really are, and some of them are pretty far afield. The initial polling, by the way, even in a three-way race or a 4 or 5-way race, has RFK taking more votes on net from Biden than from Trump, which is what I would anticipate. So RFK's entrance, Jill Stein's entrance, Manchin's entrance, that's all good news for Trump. Dan and John Casson for Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Cold floors? The problem is probably down below in the basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Permaseal. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer and therefore your upstairs more comfortable with our new product, PermaFoam. We spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which will not only increase your energy efficiency, but will also deter insects, rodents, and is mold and mildew resistant. PermaFoam can be installed in just 1 day and is twice as effective as the old-fashioned fiberglass bats. For over 40 years, homeowners in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana have trusted Permaseal to make their homes healthier and more valuable. Call a contractor you can rely on. Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325. or visit permaseal.net.
Known best for being better, Permaseal.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
At 7:37, we'll talk to our friend, investment banker Chris Whalen, about President Xi's speech, about AI, about household incomes in America. We'll discuss it all, 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
7:32. Skies are cloudy, and we have 50 degrees. Temperatures dropping rapidly this morning. President Biden and Mexican President Andrés Obrador will meet today on the sidelines of the APEC summit. Biden and López Obrador are expected to discuss the migrant crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. The Israel-Hamas terror war continues as the IDF infiltrates Gaza's main hospital, accusing Hamas of using the building as a base. Fox's Trey Yingst has more from southern Israel.
Israeli forces continue to operate in and around Gaza City as they push further into the Strip. We know they are still focused on the Al-Shifa hospital, the largest hospital in all of Gaza, and they released video overnight showing what they say is a tunnel on the grounds of the hospital. This tunnel does not indicate what they have said is a Hamas headquarters. We still have not received any evidence to prove those claims, but it does show that there is some level of infrastructure beneath the complex where Israeli forces continue to operate at this hour. Now, the Israelis also found a number of weapons at Al-Shifa Medical Center. We were with them just a few days ago in the radiology building, and they showed us weapons that they say they found in that building.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken this morning has worked to secure a longer so-called humanitarian pause with various Israeli and Arab leaders avoiding the use of the word ceasefire. California Governor Gavin Newsom says the 10 freeway in downtown L.A., initially expected to be closed from 3 to 5 weeks due to severe fire damage, will open next Tuesday at the latest.
That is not guaranteed. We still have chemical sampling that comes in on a daily basis, but the bridge structure itself seems to be in better shape than we anticipated.
The closure resulted from a fire triggered by burning pallets. UAW union members at GM have approved a new contract with the automaker, but it was a tough sled. The vote close, 55% voting in favor, 45% voting no. State taxpayers were told yesterday the Pritzker administration will spend an additional $160 million to address the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago. The funding will be used to set up an intake center And also, it is designed to resettle migrants stranded at police stations and airports.
To get people off the streets as we head into winter, the state of Illinois will invest an additional $160 million via the Department of Human Services, specifically to address these bottlenecks.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is expected today to release even more details about his revised migrant policy. The NTSB investigating after a Yellow Line train crashes into a snow removal train on Chicago's north side.
They have a big investigation to do. Our OFI has to come in and take pictures. We have the police going in there to do an investigation as well. Then CTA has to figure out what they're going to do with all this equipment.
District Chief Robert Jurowitz says it happened yesterday as the passenger train was approaching the Howard station. 38 were injured, 23 were hospitalized. The Bears take on the Lions Sunday at Ford Field. Justin Fields back at quarterback after a 4-game absence. The Blackhawks lost to Tampa Bay at the UC 4-2, and the Bulls take on Orlando tonight. The News is a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk wants to know what our money is going towards.
Well, we are near $150 to $200 billion. We don't know where the money is going. It hasn't been audited. We know that Zelensky has suspiciously fired some people for corruption, because corruption is the Ukrainian way. They're taking your tax dollars, and they are outright laundering and pickpocketing the West.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you a driver of a Ford Powerstroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford Powerstroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford Powerstroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and Isuzu diesel engines and transmission repairs. At Remke's, they'll make your vehicle repairs convenient by offering a free commercial loaner vehicle.
Remke's Garage, where you won't spend $1,000 to fix a $100 problem. Call for details and to schedule an appointment at 800-5-REMKES or visit remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, your diesel headquarters.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I want to tell you that Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift for someone you love. I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews. I love that they're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Well, Roland's Jewelers has a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? Listen, I've been a customer of Roland's Jewelers for a long time. You should too. They're so impressive. Their staff is expertly trained. I encourage you to visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or visit RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this holiday, just like I do.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
740. Let's check the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Eden's 26. Lake Cook Road to the junction. Outbound, an accident blocking a right lane at Niles Center Road. It's 44 outbound to Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy at an hour 10 from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Stevenson jammed up between Harlem and the Ryan Merge. 55 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 29 on the inbound Dan Ryan. 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Jane Addams accident, right lane block eastbound right before Harlem Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy skies, a shower this morning, but sun returns for the afternoon, but a high only of 50. Currently 50 degrees. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan. Maybe this is the way to go. And it dovetails to a conversation about the Chinese communists, too, because of the AI development that President Biden has announced the federal government will spearhead under the able leadership of Kamala Harris, who can explain to people what AI is. But in Poland...
She's aware that she's a sentient being, right? She's aware that she's alive.
Hard to know. Polish spirits company called Dictador has appointed the first ever AI-powered humanoid robot to be its CEO. The humanoid robot is named Mika. Could replace...
Mika Brzezinski?
Yeah. That would be a significant upgrade in intellect. But anyway, this is a partnership between this Polish spirits company and a company called Hanson Robotics. First ever humanoid robot CEO. Mika, I almost said she, Mika, the robot CEO, was interviewed by Lauren Simonetti over at Fox Business, and it went something like this.
What work do you do?
I am currently working on the M-City Golden Cities project, the first billion-dollar collection. Equipped with advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, I can swiftly and accurately make data-driven decisions.
That might take a while. There's a significant delay in the time it takes for Micah to interpret and answer your question.
Well, I mean, the same goes for a lot of CEOs, political leaders, President of the United States, for example.
Bring me a glass full of Polish mead, okay?
I
away.
think she's the one giving orders. I don't think you understand how the hierarchy works.
See, that would make me thirsty if a gorgeous AI robot would be bringing me the mead. I will not serve the mead myself.
So, what about, I mean, this is sort of important, isn't it? David Hansen is Mr. Hansen Robotics. He had this to say about Mika and this brave new frontier we're traversing.
It's also about sentience.
I feel very strongly that that we need to teach AI to care about people, for AI to be really safe, to be really, really good. I think humanizing the AI is a very important direction.
Christopher Whalen is an investment banker, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, author of Ford Men, From Inspiration to Enterprise, and editor for the Institutional Risk Analysts. Chris Whalen, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Tom.
Do you want to start with the human CEOs in San Francisco or the humanoid CEO in Poland?
I think the humanoid CEO in Poland is probably more interesting.
I think so too. I mean, what about this? What I mean, on a serious note, I mean, AI. People are trying to wrap their arms around this in all sorts of sectors. But I mean, honestly, you're going to have corporate leadership that is not human.
We already have that.
Oh.
I know. Insert your own joke there. Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
Look, this is the latest fad. As 100 years ago in the 1920s, we were going through a series of manias and fads because economic growth is insufficient to feed all of the mouths. So we go out and create new games. That's what this is. Humans always do this. It reminds me of my dog watching television. And when the dog sees a picture of another dog, they're fascinated. Or you guys are old enough. Imagine when we first had television and people were so just amazed by this. They were fascinated. That's what this is.
I am not old enough. I am not old enough. I'm not old enough to remember when people first got television.
Wait, Dan, when you see the TV on, do you look behind it to see if the man is behind there?
I stare at it and I'm fascinated by other humans I see on TV, like a dog. That's what I do. So no, but develop that, Chris. I mean, so you think AI is not a fad, but you're saying taking it to this extent is?
Yes, I mean, this is just an evolution of very familiar technology. Okay, we have enough computer power now that we can do what Ray Kurzweil talked about 20 years ago, simulated cognition. Mm-hmm. That's all this is. There's no intelligence here. It's not thinking about the response and then, giving you an answer. That's not what's going on. This is simply a machine imitating us.
So we're not going to teach it to care about us as individual beings? Wait a minute. I don't want to live in that world. What are you talking about? I'm going back in Plato's cave.
Look, science fiction tells us that machines can become intelligent and sentient. But the reality is no. I mean, have you ever seen a movie called Wife-like? It's very interesting.
Wife-like?
Starts off as, rent it. Oh. Very interesting because essentially this guy has his wife who's killed replaced with a replicant. Uh-huh. And over time, she learns and starts to hate the guy. And, rightly so. But my point is that we always imagine...
Does she look like a hot Lee Remick?
No, even better. But the point is that the whole thing imagines that the machines are intelligent. And so our narrative is populated with ideas like that. But really... if you talk to technologists about what's going on here, they laugh. If we could get the guys at Google on the phone, they would laugh at all of them.
Okay, so what
really changed?
Okay, so then let's return to terra firma here, and what happens when Kamala Harris and whoever she taps for AI command control get the Google guys on the phone?
Oh, who knows? That might be an interesting conversation. I'm not sure she'll be around. I think we're already starting to see the end game where we move Gavin Newsom into the second position, and then Joe, ascends into heaven sometime next year, and off we go. I thought initially that they were going to send Kamala back to the Senate, and Gavin Newsom was going to take her place as vice president, but it didn't happen.
It's not going to happen.
You're
underestimating. Well, you're underestimating the identitarian political quotient that's required to meet her.
So, has the migrant thing of slapping black Democrats in the face again and again been the test marketing for whether we can just avoid Kamala altogether and move to Gavin?
Well, good question, because normally you would think that the Democratic Party is incapable of saying no to a black female candidate, especially as vice president, right? Mm-hmm. How do they say no without destroying the party? But meanwhile, they're already destroying the party over Israel, so maybe we'll have another axis of destruction. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about this. The human CEOs. We discussed it a little bit earlier in the show, but this is seems to me an important visual moment for the American people to see and hear about all the names that were in the room for President Xi and gave him a standing O and were dutifully applauding at all of his banal lines about peaceful coexistence. I mean, that was a sickening display, I thought, and I don't think that's going to be lost on a lot of a good percentage of the American people.
Oh, no, it was a totally sickening display because look at Xi Jinping, totally incompetent. He has destroyed the Chinese economy, which was looking very promising because it had been allowed to open. Now he has closed it again. So when you think of Xi, think of all the managers in the U.S. I'm not talking about owners who really care about their business, but the managers who are just there to collect a salary. That's Xi Jinping. You know, they don't really care about the outcome. They just care about retaining power and continuance in power. That's it. So, you know, the people in the audience are probably just like Chairman Xi. You know, rent-seeking people who don't ultimately care.
You guys think that the American people care about CEOs kissing the butt of Xi Jinping?
No.
I don't think. I really think if it's not on TikTok, if they can't have sex with it, if they can't eat it, why would they care? I mean, this is where we've fallen now.
So true.
The dying
it's the
citizen.
shiny object, John.
We are the dying.
The shiny object.
Yeah.
Okay, so then react to the reading between the lines that which is it's not that complicated, but you probably have a deeper insight. The reading between the lines of what she had to say about the ongoing economic relationship between China and the United States.
Well, he's trying to figure out a way to repair some of the damage that's been done to China because of first Trump and then Biden's reaction against them and sanctions particularly. It has had an impact on the Chinese economy, very definitely. And so he's in kind of the same position as the Democrats, which is they're both trying to avoid the next leg down. In the U.S., that's very visible. You know, Janet Yellen wanted to sell some 30-year bonds, and she couldn't do it last week. The dealers came to her and said, no, don't do that. And so they reduced the amount of long bonds they were able to sell. That's bad. That tells you that Jay Powell's losing control of the market. He thought he was in control. It really wasn't, but we thought he was, right? So what do you do when you start shaking the confidence in both the leaders in China and the U.S., or even have a slight financial hiccup next year before the election? That will be very interesting.
Do you expect the capital flight from China to continue?
Yeah, oh yeah. Anybody who can get value out of China, especially Hong Kong, is going to do it. I mean, look at Singapore. Singapore has exploded because once they shut Hong Kong down and people realized that the Communist Party was not going to allow Hong Kong to continue to pretend to be independent, right? Independent currency, the whole bit. That was the end. All of the free money that's outside the control of the Chinese Communist Party is long gone. But, you know, he shut the window, 4 or 5 years ago on offshore investment.
Yep.
And I think that was the warning that they were having problems in terms of funding their offshore debt. Because they borrow in dollars. Everything is funded with dollars. Belt and Road, all the Chinese projects, right? So now that that's becoming more and more difficult, you can see what's going on in the property sector. The real estate sector in China is a mess. It's orders of magnitude bigger than 2008, if you think of U.S. terms, right? So stay tuned for that one. I think Xi's got a very weak hand, and he's trying to figure out a way to repair it without losing face.
And what about...
Remember, China, he's the father. That's how they see Xi Jinping. He's the father figure. And if you discredit the father, the whole family is in disarray.
In the United States, on the domestic front here, the Magnificent Seven and at least the perception, based on some data that's released from the government, that inflation is cooling, that's going to be enough to buoy things here?
Well, Wall Street would like you to believe that. I think Jay Powell, for better or for worse, is going to make everyone wait. If you go back and read some of his early speeches where he was talking about the double-digit recession during Paul Volcker's term, I think that's the hint you need to pay attention to. He's not going to let this one come back too soon. He's going to wait. And that means that the markets may be disappointed. They are all anticipating several cuts in short-term rates. But here's the thing, Dan. What if the Fed has lost control of the long end of the yield curve? What if they can't prevent long-term rates from rising because of the Treasury debt burden? That, to me, is the next shoe to drop in this equation.
Chris Whalen is an investment banker, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, author of Ford Men, From Inspiration to Enterprise, and editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst. Chris, thanks as always for your insights. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
See you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Bettenhausen Mobility is the fastest growing authorized Braun Ability dealer serving the Chicagoland area. Bettenhausen offers a complete lineup of wheelchair accessible vehicles with the options to fit all your mobility needs. As a Braun Ability dealer, Bettenhausen Mobility can provide sales and service to all accessible vehicles and mobility solutions on several makes and models. Whether you need side entry with manual or power operation or different ramp options, Bettenhausen Mobility has a solution for you. Showroom open at BettenhausenMobility.com.
Check out the America's Talking podcast, a show featuring thoughtful conversations with host Austin Burke and guests that range from opioid epidemic expert Dr. Limpke.
What are the best predictors of a person's ability or likelihood of success in overcoming an addiction?
Really interesting question. I mean, it's a combination of the biopsychosocial aspects that make up the disease of addiction in the first place. Biology speaks to the sort of inborn or innate vulnerability to addiction that person has in their DNA. What's their genetic load?
To stand-up comedian Mark Normand.
For me, it was a couple things. I was finally getting some heat. I opened for Seinfeld. I did Joe Rogan. I had a Tonight Show come out. I was like cooking. And then the COVID hit. I was selling tickets for the first time in my life.
Listen to the America's Talking podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
War has played a key role in the history of the United States, from the nation's founding right down to the present. Wars made the United States independent, kept it together, increased its size, and established it as a global superpower. Hi, I'm James Early, host of the Key Battles of American History podcast. In each episode, I discuss American history through the lens of the most important battles of America's wars. To start listening now, go to parthenonpodcast.com or search Key Battles of American History on your favorite podcasting platform.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk to Rule Mark Correct from Foundation for Defense of Democracies about the prospects of an Iranian escalation in the Middle East, despite another $10 billion from the big guy. That's at 8:08. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Opening statements begin in Ed Burke's federal racketeering trial. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
Worst is yet to come. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. No matter what President Biden says about how well the economy is doing, 78% of Americans in a new poll see it negatively, and 2/3 say they've seen no sign of a turnaround. More voters see Republicans as better able to handle issues most important to them.
Voters say the border, national security, terrorism, and foreign policy are among the issues Republicans have a better approach with. Democrats have more of a feel on topics such as transgender matters, abortion, climate change, and anti-Semitism. While those issues show the widest gaps between the parties, several are close enough to go either way. On bringing Americans together, Democrats are seen as 5 points better than the GOP. Republicans are 3 points up on gun policy over Democrats. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Israeli troops report pushing farther into the Gaza Strip.
We know they are still focused on the Al-Shifa hospital, the largest hospital in all of Gaza, and they released this video overnight showing what they say is a tunnel on the grounds of the hospital. This tunnel does not indicate what they have said is a Hamas headquarters. We still have not received any evidence to prove those claims, but it does show that there is some level of infrastructure beneath the complex where Israeli forces continue to operate at this hour.
Fox's Trey Yanks, the Israeli military reports finding the bodies of 2 Hamas hostages, a civilian and a soldier, in buildings near the hospital. Police in Mentor, Ohio say they'll have more to say this morning about a man who shot and killed 3 people at a mobile home park before a standoff with police.
The shooter has died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The police have cleared the trailer itself.
City spokesman Ante Lagarsic, 1 other person is injured in that shooting. New home construction up again last month, 1.9% compared to September. According to the Census Department, it's more than most analysts expected. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are cloudy, 50 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. State taxpayers are being told the Pritzker administration will spend an additional $160 million to address the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago.
The state is also funding a New Life team to deploy to the bus landing zone to ensure every new arrival is supported in a choice to seek alternate arrangements outside the city shelter system.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is expected today to release even more details about his revised migrant policy. The NTSB is investigating after a Yellow Line train crashes into a snow removal train on Chicago's north side. It happened yesterday as the passenger train was approaching the Howard station.
They have a big investigation to do. Our OFI has to come in and take pictures. We have the police going in there to do an investigation as well. Then CTA has to figure out what they're going to do with all this equipment.
District Chief Robert Jurowitz. At least 38 were injured, 23 hospitalized. 1 person is already set to sue the CTA. Opening statements are expected to wrap up today in the federal trial against longtime Chicago Alderman Ed Burke. No one is in custody following a deadly attack outside of the House of Blues in Chicago. It happened Wednesday night. And rate hike requests by People's Gas and North Shore Gas are being reduced by the Illinois Commerce Commission. Chicago sports, Bears getting set to take on the Lions at Ford Field on Sunday. Blackhawks lost to Tampa Bay 4-2. White Sox send Aaron Bummer to the Braves for a package of 5 players. And the Cubs are now throwing their hat in the ring for Shohei Ohtani. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat. It is a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
BJ's wholesale shares are losing ground. Though its earnings were stronger than forecast, the company's sales declined slightly in the quarter, and BJ's is lowering its sales forecast for the year. There's a merger in the California wine business. Duckhorn Portfolio, a Napa wine producer, is buying Chardonnay producer Sonoma-Cutrer Vineyards for about $400 million. Duckhorn already owns 10 wineries stretching from Washington state to California's Central Coast. Has interest in electric vehicles cooled? The Wall Street Journal says EV inventories are piling up. Sales of all-electric models have plateaued around the 100,000 a month mark for the past half year after rapid growth. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, worried about basement flooding? Time to call Permaseal Basement Systems, 800-421-7325. A check of traffic and weather's on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago this Christmas season on their spectacular annual holiday tour. And AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the Allstate Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
The Daily Herald 2022 Best of the Fox winner for Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. The 2022 Reader's Choice Award winner for Best Wealth Management Firm and Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. Are you ready for a change? Choose Total Clarity Wealth Management. With a professional team of financial advisors and CPAs, they can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Their philosophy is built on solid relationships and trust, with access to expertise in tax planning strategies, 401k rollover services, estate planning, and more. They can help you be ready for anything.
Hi, this is Terry Murphy. The cornerstone of our practice has been to help clients stay focused on their goals throughout life's changes.
Get in touch with them at TotalClarityWealth.com. That's TotalClarityWealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. Awards are based on number of reader votes. This award is not representative of the views of clients and is not indicative of future performance or services.
Eating Balance of Nature fruits and veggies is not replacing the fruits and vegetables in your diet. It is fruits and vegetables in your diet. Ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and vegetables have I eaten today? Have you eaten 1, 2, 3, and from how many varieties? Most people are less than 3. Our body is an amazing chemical laboratory, and when you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is 31 different fruits and vegetables prepared in a way to give you the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry. Let Balance of Nature help you supplement your fruit and vegetable intake for a lot less money and a lot less work and a much higher quality of life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Want a killer Black Friday deal? Get a free Moto 5G phone when you sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gig data plan for just $35 a month. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to get this exclusive offer and to select the plan that's right for you and your family. Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword save now to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with a qualifying plan. A Pure Talk, simply smarter wireless.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Outbound Edens, due to an earlier accident, you're jammed up Montrose out to Niles Center, 35 out to Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy at a solid hour 10 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at an hour, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 45 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan right now settling in at 30 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State stop and go northbound between Roosevelt and the Ike. They finally cleared that accident on the Jane Addams I-90 in Winnebago County, eastbound right before Harlem Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
We'll pick up a shower in the area this morning, then clouds and sun, a high today 50. Clear and cold tonight, low 32. Sunny day tomorrow, the high 55. Sunny to partly cloudy on Sunday, the high 54. Clouds and breezy for Monday, the high 50. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
A chilly 48 right now. Next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by CharlesEquipment.com, keeping you powered up no matter what the conditions. CharlesEquipment.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, John Cass, johncastnews.com.
Hey, Dan.
And, John, we mentioned it briefly earlier in the program that the Osama bin Laden justification for the 9/11 terrorist attacks making the rounds on TikTok, much to the celebration of a lot of ignorant young people.
What do you do? I need listeners to help me. My kids have TikTok. I want to cut them off. I want to either take a stick and beat them to death or cut them off entirely. I know Betty's listening. She drove me down here, but I'm really pissed off.
Probably not the stick and the beating to death.
Not a tiny stick. I mean a real, like a good club.
Yeah,
like
probably not that route, but maybe some reasoning with them. Do you really want to
how about
partake in a platform that platforms Osama bin Laden's justification for killing 3,000 Americans? Probably not. Probably not. But that's not. But that's not the only thing making the rounds. Something that's something that's more relevant and more a subject of conversation among the civilized and the enlightened would be the 2017 comments from Abdullah bin Zayed, who is the son of the founder of the United Arab Emirates.
Mm-hmm.
He had a message to the West, Europe, and the United States with respect to Islamofascists. 2017, 6 years ago.
And let me say this in English so you can understand what I'm saying.
I have translation.
No, I know you have translation, but I just want to make sure you get it right. There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
That day has arrived in pertinent part as we've seen in college campuses and the streets of major Western cities.
What did he want? He wanted the military junta crackdown on the street? What?
I think he's just suggesting that we don't appreciate the threat that Islamofascists pose, and he's right about that. Despite 9/11, despite Al-Qaeda, despite ISIS, despite 2 decades in Iraq and Afghanistan, we still don't really appreciate it. And where are we 6 years later? We have the administration, the President of the United States and his administration underwriting the leading state sponsor of terror, filling their coffers with another $80 billion they wouldn't otherwise have if he would do things like not pay cash for hostages and not underwrite their oil exports, for example. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Rule Mark Garect. He's a senior fellow at the Nonpartisan Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and former Iranian targets officer in the CIA. Rule Mark Garect, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
What about what that Emirati sheikh said 6 years ago? Was he prescient?
Well, I don't know if I'd want to give anyone in the UAE royal family a great deal of prescience because, I mean, they are amongst the most Janus-faced individuals in the Middle East. So the UAE is well known for example, serving as an entrepot for smuggling goods into the Islamic Republic. So, yes, they can do good things. They have relationships with Israel, and at the very same time, they also make an enormous amount of money through commerce with the Islamic Republic. So I think very careful using it as a reference point.
Well, that's sort of the point. It's not that they wear a white hat; it's that they know what they're talking about.
Well, even there, I'm not sure they do. I just don't. I think they're
so
not.
We haven't seen in the West. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we haven't seen in the West what he's describing. You don't think that the West has been blithely ignorant to the threat that radical Islamists pose? I mean, obviously, there's complacency in the Middle East. Otherwise, October 7th wouldn't have happened.
Well, no, I think there has been blindness in the West on sort of a marriage between radical left politics and a certain Islamist sympathy. And I think on American college campuses, the vast expression of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism that we've seen, I don't know how much of that actually translates into sympathy for radical Islamists, in the sense that I suspect most of the people who are demonstrating are completely ignorant of the politics and the preferences of Hamas. And they frankly probably don't even care. Their primary objective is to attack Israel and in many cases to damn Jews.
And to attack America, to attack the West. But so what about the administration policy? I mean, it's sort of baffling, at least to me, that against the backdrop of what the administration has already done with the Iranian nuclear deal, going back to Obama to present, and the underwriting, as I said, of the oil industry in Iran, that they would release, unfreeze another $10 billion just this week. Is there an explanation for that?
Well, I mean, I think the administration is caught on Iran. I mean, they had taken a certain approach. They wanted to revive the nuclear deal. They wanted to try to find some means to essentially bribe, buy off, delay Iran's development of nuclear weapons. That approach hasn't worked, but it's more or less still on autopilot. So they can't really unhook themselves. Now, when October 7th happened, it did briefly paralyze them, and that's why it appears that the funds that were transferred from South Korea to Qatar, the $6 billion, which was supposedly a ransom payment for Iranian Americans being released, that appears to have been refrozen. I mean, it's unclear. No one wants to say explicitly that's the case, except a deputy secretary of Treasury in private meetings with Democrats on the Hill that no one else was permitted to be at. But so they understand at least the PR problems involved. I actually think they're not going back to in this approach. I think it's probably dead. They just haven't figured out what else to do. So they're stuck in limbo land because they have a certain approach that the Democrats have had since Obama, and they don't really know what else to do.
And you think that Iran will escalate or initiate escalation here in the region?
I think they have done so. The issue is for them is calibrating it. So I don't think they can watch Hamas die. They can't return to sort of Shiites watch and Sunnis die. They have to do more to maintain the axis of resistance. So I think they will continue to try to escalate. Now, they do not want to get into a duel with Israel or the United States. It's interesting, given how much damage the Israelis have done to the Iranians in Syria, given the assassination of Iranian scientists in Iran, the Iranians have refused to escalate directly against Israel. The Americans, they've had, they're willing to attack because I think, as they've been doing in Syria, because the Americans have not shown themselves willing to escalate. So I think they're going to probe all the time. And I think it's important to remember with the Islamic Republic, sort of borrow that line from Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder. They will exploit it.
He is Raul Mark Garect, Senior Fellow at the Nonpartisan Foundation for Defense of Democracies and former Iranian Targets Officer in the CIA. Raul Mark Garect, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day. then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Over 30 years ago, the challenge was accepted, and the Pride Stores has been redefining the convenience store experience throughout Chicagoland ever since. In the spirit of giving thanks this month to the surrounding communities for supporting the Pride Store's vision, you're invited to take advantage of their November promotion at the Pride of St. Charles. Buy 8 gallons of gas and receive 20% off your purchase at the Pride Beer and Wine Plus Spirits just next door. That's right, 8 gallons of gas gets you 20% off an amazing selection of local craft beers, high-end wines from Napa, Sonoma, Walla Walla, and Columbia Valley, plus a wide variety of Pride barrel picks. And don't forget about 93 Octane Brewery located inside the same building. Might as well get a pint while you shop. Offer ends Thursday, November 30th, and valid only at the Pride of St. Charles on Lincoln Highway. With 17 Chicagoland locations, visit thepridestores.com to find the one nearest you. That's thepridestores.com. The Pride Stores, not your typical convenience store.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. On September 6th, the government announced it will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000, with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement, with your VA benefits fully protected. You may be entitled to a significant financial award for your Camp Lejeune claim, but you must act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune. Call now or you may forever lose your right to be awarded a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-299-7878. That's 800-299-7878. 800-299-7878.
Recent data from the FDIC reveals 53 top banks could soon collapse just like Silicon Valley Bank. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to diversify your savings today using a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To find out more, get a free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold Group by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. So text SHELTER to the number 989898 and protect what's yours.
Tune into Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns every Saturday at noon on AM 560 The Answer. Certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns holds weekly discussions of the financial challenges to a secure retirement. Learn about planning strategies and solutions that proactive investors utilize to help make continued progress toward retirement goals. Call with questions at 800-640-2256 or visit tjstearns.com. Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns, Saturdays at noon, here on AM 560 The Answer.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Dan and John Cass, JohnCassNews.com, in for Amy J. It is that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls. 312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, Turnkey.pro text line.
There's no better day on the morning answer than Friday. General Crack Pottery, etc.
Yes. Yeah. Comments, concerns, criticisms, General Crack Pottery. We will take it all.
Love it all.
But Open Mic Friday, we should hasten to add, is presented by Turnkey.pro, your small business partner. You can visit them online at, again, Turnkey.pro. And we're pleased to kick it off with David Kolsak. Scott Kolsak is a friend of mine, which is why I always confuse him. David Kolsak.
There's another one? There's another Kolsak? I want to know him because there's only like 9 of us in the world.
It's spelled differently, but it sounds the same.
Oh,
that's
okay.
the thing. Yeah.
Cool.
So David Kolsak, founder of Turnkey.pro. I will give Scott your regards, your brother from another mother. All right, David, what do you got for us?
Well, so good morning, John and Dan, and I got your names right, so that's good. I started there. I hear that they approved the lights for Loyola, so there goes the neighborhood, right? As so they say. You know, Loyola got there. In full disclosure, I have a kid that goes to a Loyola Academy, and they just recently voted on the lights to be passed there. They have all kinds of contingencies and all kinds of things there. And all the comments that I listened to of the people, you know, at the microphone and the stuff I read in the paper, they were super entertaining to see how they didn't want the lights to happen. But anyway, they finally came together and they got through and they threaded the needle somehow. And I guess the people that lived there forgot that there was a high school there when they bought their houses. So anyway, I think it's kind of interesting that happened. But what really Loyola needs is a parking garage, by the way. So I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Are you passing a collection plate for the Academy? What are you doing?
Oh, no, I'm not really.
Oh,
I'm just kind of I'm behind them. I'm behind them. I think I'm glad that they're getting the lights. I think they have one of the best football programs in the state.
Are they in the semis right now?
Coach them. Yeah.
Semis.
I think they played Lions.
Did they beat Carmel?
Lions this Saturday. It's a Saturday game because they don't have lights, right? So, but regardless, what they really need is a parking garage. Then you'd see a really big fight up there. You know, the whole neighborhood, I think we talked about this, the whole neighborhood around Loyola who is against these lights is filled with, you know, some of them are big homes, some of them are modestly sized homes, but a lot of them have big, giant driveways, some of them circular. And it's a cottage industry for them where they charge people thousands of dollars so that their kids can park in a driveway because there's not enough room in the parking lot.
Well, but the problem is, I mean, as we documented on this show, and as probably happened, I didn't hear the results, but when you have these barbarian hordes from the south side, like a St. Lawrence or a Mount Carmel, come to Wilmette, then it's unsafe.
Khakis and combat
They've been coming here for years, though.
Oh, okay.
They've been coming here for years,
boots
right?
And the map of Ireland on their face. They must have terrified the neighborhood.
I mean, I can't imagine, the situation at Myers Tavern,
right?
You know, for that
or
Mount Carmel
Stormy's
game.
For that matter. Stormy's. Give a plug there. Stormy's is a good place to go.
I'm surprised that.
But anyway, you'd see a pretty large scale fight.
I'm surprised that you and Tom Bevan didn't stand up and defend the neighborhood against
progress.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see, and I think you'll see more things happen in the future there. But not to beat a dead horse here, but I want to talk about the Xi Jinping thing for just a second.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that he would do a world tour of every American city. Like, bring him to every blue city in America, everything that's poorly run, and we can see everybody get cleaned up, like, quickly. And then the governors and the mayors can all say, look, you know, we're a sanctuary state or city, but look at us. We've done a great job and the reason we did it is because we love this communist leader coming to our stuff. So I'm all for a world tour of Xi Jinping.
Well, the other thing that would be nice, just to add to that, is that then Xi Jinping, who runs concentration camps back home, would be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for being the impetus for American cities to clean up their acts. That'd be wonderful.
It would be. I mean, the irony of it would be just, you know, absolutely. And I heard a father call in earlier on your show this morning. He was having trouble talking to his 17-year-old son. Where's the world at today? And I have to say, it's a really tough place to be because as a parent, you don't want to scare your kids, but you also don't want to lie to them. So you're kind of stuck in the middle of this thing where, what do we say? And so I feel for him because I too, I have a 20-year-old and a 15-year-old son, and it's hard to thread that needle and be a concerned dad, a loving dad, an honest dad, but also a guy that's got compassion and understands you don't want to scare the crap out of your kid for the rest of his life so that there's doom and gloom. So it's a really, again, another needle to thread for us. But, you know, again, I wonder why we haven't reached a tipping point of, where we all collectively say no more. There's a Voltaire quote that says, if you want to know who controls you, look at who you're not allowed to criticize. And I think that's a really big thing that goes on. And I think maybe the reason why people haven't stood up and gotten in the streets and protested more or tried to do something is that there's January 6th. Everybody who saw what happens there, if you stand up, you're going to go to prison and you're going to be in a gulag for 4 or 5 years and you don't have any justice. So, again, they print money we don't have and they give it to other countries. They don't have any regard for common sense or the will of the people that they're supposed to represent. And they want sanctuary cities, but they really don't want sanctuary cities. And, like I said before, everything is so blatant in our face where we all just sit back and say, what the hell's going on? And when is enough? So, and how about that Venezuelan couple that's going back to Venezuela because Chicago's so unlivable? Really?
Yeah. Well, this is Chicago.
Welcome to the party.
Chicago is a sanctuary city for repeat violent offenders.
Yeah.
David, don't call me Scott Kolsak.
What would you give?
Go
ahead.
Go ahead.
To have Rahm Emanuel back, right now.
Nothing. Zero.
Just
No.
if he could wear his soft sweater.
The good old days weren't all that good. Don't give me the Lori Lightfoot Rahm Emanuel. It's a progression. If Rahm Emanuel were here today, it would be very similar to Brandon Johnson because the politics have changed in the last decade. All right, David, don't call me Scott Kolsak, founder of Turnkey.pro. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Do you agree with me, John?
I agree that I wish that Rahm was in his soft cashmere sweater, the little powder blue one. He made me feel like hugging him a little bit.
Well, I get the kinder, gentler Rahm, but
because he's tiny dancer. You put him on your lap, you hug him a little bit.
But
bedtime stories.
But my point is that Rahm was an amoral, transactional type of person.
He's a politician,
right? And so he's captured by the events and the dynamics around him. So the Rahm, which by the way he was a terrible mayor, but the Rahm from a decade ago would, in terms of impact, would not be dissimilar to what we have now because that's where his party has moved in the intervening time period. Oh, I wish we could go back to Richie Daley. I wish we could
go back to
totally missed the point.
How about going back to having Barack Obama as president?
Oh, right. Those glory days.
Don't we have that now?
All right, let's take some calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I have some things, too, to interject, and John, if you do as well. Please. Let's start with, on the secret tin can and string line, the Amish texter. Amish?
Hey, good morning, and my friend. Yes, my friend John, I missed you, man.
Hey, yeah.
But nothing real pithy this morning. I think terrorists murdering 1,400 Israelis and Jewish and American friends of mine, that kind of puts me down a little bit. I just wanted to say though, hi to you guys, especially John. That's what prompted me to call, just to reach out. And then I did note that there was certainly a lot of she-males, I'd call them, out there in San Francisco welcoming Xi Jinping, Gavin Newsom, and all the other she-males. It's kind of nice.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call. I love your chicken, Amish. Your chicken's the best. Thanks. Pick one. Come on.
Kip in Stillman Valley.
Hey, good morning, guys. John, I got a couple questions on brining and barbecue, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Bring it on. Bring it.
All right. Well, you know what? I mean, never mind. Where I remember listening on the radio, and you would talk about it. So I caught my interest years ago, and I've been experimenting. Sometimes not too good. Anyway, is there a length of time when you're brining overnight, with the turkey or butt roast, that it sits in the brine too long?
Turkey, you can only have it in for about at most 24 hours.
24 hours.
Because it's
and
a
the
lot
butt
of salt.
roast. Salt. I use a little sugar, crushed garlic, and use the outside of the onion.
There's no brining for pot roast, my friend. Please.
Well, no pot roast, no pork butt roast.
Oh yeah, we could, Brian, for the same amount
Butt
of
roast
time.
has been called, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, do you use a little bit of sugar as well as the salt?
Sugar, salt, vinegar, brown
You
sugar,
catch-
salt, vinegar, yeah.
You catch more butt roast with sugar than vinegar.
That's Dan. If Dan would ever write a column for me,
Thanks for the call,
I
Kip.
would really like him to do the butt roast column.
Yeah. All right. You and Kip can take this over to the Food Network for more conversation.
Don't forget to oil it, Dan.
That's what she said. Chief Sean Collins. Chief Collins.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You're the fire chief in Wheeling?
No, I'm a battalion chief, not the chief, in Buffalo Grove.
Battalion chief in Buffalo Grove. Okay.
Yes,
There you
sir.
go. All right. What do you got for us, Battalion Chief Collins?
Good morning. I'm calling this morning not for the fire department, but on behalf of Buffalo Grove Rotary. We do a project with Wheeling Rotary, Buffalo Grove Rotary. We've been doing it for 42 years, where we give out holiday food boxes to people that are less fortunate than us within our communities. And we were looking just to advertise the program and let people know that one of the gentlemen in our community who runs a restaurant is taking donations from his patrons to provide turkeys to supplement what we do. So I guess looking for support and
what's the restaurant?
Appreciation for him. Oh, that would help, wouldn't it? Pete is the Continental Restaurant in Buffalo Grove on Dundee and Buffalo Grove Road, and he's been asking his patrons as they come in. We're fortunate; we've got a great community with a lot of people that are pretty fortunate, and so they've been providing $20 when they come in if they have it to support the turkeys that we're buying. So we give boxes of food. We've been doing it, like I said, 42 years. It includes all the staples, and Pete had an idea that if he asked for it, that he would maybe be able to provide turkeys and all the fixings to go with it in addition to the boxes of food. So I think we're at about $1,800 of our $2,200 goal right now.
Wow.
Make sure he doesn't brine those turkeys for more than 24 hours per John Cass.
You know what?
All right.
Don't throw them out the window of the plane.
So
we do know turkeys don't fly.
How do people help with this effort in Wheeling and Buffalo Grove?
They can go to the Buffalo Grove Rotary website, send us a message, Buffalo Grove Rotary on Facebook, or they can stop in at the Continental Restaurant and just see Pete or whomever's working at the counter there and mention it.
Okay.
And then I think the gentleman at Garden Fresh Foods, which is just north of them, in the same shopping center, is the one who's basically provided and donated all the food for us. So I think they're a supporter as well, where they can offer help.
All right, great. Garden Fresh and Continental and Buffalo Grove, and the Buffalo Grove Rotary website or Facebook page to get involved and finish off this Thanksgiving meal program. Okay, great. Chief Sean Collins, thanks so much. Appreciate
the lovely
it.
Sicilian is from Buffalo Grove, so I married her 37 years ago. Love you, Betty. I know you're
there you go.
listening, so we'll support Buffalo Grove.
Very good. All right, very nice. Adrian in Riverdale.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hey,
I want to read something to you.
Yeah.
If someone had told me as a boy, one day you will see your nation vanish from the world, I would have considered it nonsense, something I could not possibly imagine. A man knows he is mortal, but he takes it for granted that his nation possesses a kind of eternal life.
All right, thanks for the call, Adrian. Deep Thoughts with Adrian from Riverdale. Could be another segment. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning. So I think these college protests and what's happening with Jennifer Wall, she was a Democratic leader in Detroit, they never revealed the suspect that they released. And also these robberies that are happening as far as Amazon and FedEx, I think that's going to have a lot of people going Republican next year.
You mean like the like that FedEx truck in Memphis that got descended upon? That's
right,
the,
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, maybe. I don't. I mean, the domestic crime issue in metropolitan areas. As long as that persists, then it will persist as an issue, and it's certainly not going to retreat with the prosecutors and the policies in charge. Actually, some interesting developments that week, too, this week, to Eduardo's point, last 2 weeks, really. One is the defund the police city council members in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
3 of them got removed. Also, in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, a Soros-funded prosecutor was beaten after Republicans recruited a Democrat because they didn't have a candidate of their own.
That's a good story, yeah.
Who lost in the primary to run as a Republican.
And there was one that went down for not plagiarism, for lying to a grand jury, no? In Maryland or Baltimore or something?
Well, there was. That's you're talking about Marilyn Mosby.
Yeah, what happened
in Baltimore?
with that? Yeah.
Well, the one I was thinking of in the last 2 weeks in Virginia, underreported because of the rest of the election results. But the Soros-funded prosecutor in Loudoun County, the epicenter of the parental revolt that put Glenn Youngkin in office, she was part of that Marxist school establishment that covered up the sexual violence in Loudoun County schools.
Yeah.
She got tossed out too. So there's maybe some early indicators that there are some bad actors at the local level that will be held accountable for the bad acts, and to the extent there's a nexus between them and local politicians at the state or federal level, then you could see that be a difference maker in some districts for sure. Anne in the western suburbs.
Okay, well, about this idea of the conflict over whether people should be allowed to die or not die or whatever, I can remember some time ago on this program, a woman called with a very moving tale about, which was true, I'm sure, of what she went through. It must have been her mother and father. It was so terrible what she went through. And she said she was very bitter because she wasn't legally allowed to kill that person. And Mr. Prof said, be careful what power you give to the state to do that. Mm-hmm. That would be up to the family. And then a similar case in some ways came up yesterday about a little girl who, of course, everybody knows, I guess by now, was not allowed to live in Britain because they didn't want her to live. And although the Italian government was eager to help her with experimental work or whatever would need to be done. And what I would say is that, and there again, Mr. Prof said that would be the state should not have the power. Be careful of what power you give to the state, because this is going to happen if the power belongs to the parents. And I would just say that as far as terminating a life, a first-degree murder, in other words, that's never right. That's always wrong. It's always a mortal sin. But at the end of life, like with that elderly lady who was dying, it's almost humanly impossible. It is humanly impossible, just on normal strength, to sustain that. That's why it's very important to pray ahead of time for the strength. And I'm just thinking, at the end, so many people say this prayer, but maybe not think of all its implications. The last part of the Hail Mary, pray for us now and at the hour of our death, amen. So that's it. Food and water always, but no direct first-degree murder. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Ann. I was talking about baby Indy in Britain, we talked about yesterday.
Yes.
6 years after Charlie Gard.
I wrote about him.
Barbaric. It's barbaric stuff. And the point, too, is obviously the situation is a lot different for an adult, and particularly an adult who has made plans for their end, and parents, and particularly when parents of a minor child want to do everything they can to save their minor child, regardless of how remote the possibility, and the state intervenes to prevent that. I mean, just think about this in the context of your kid or anyone you cared about, their kids. I want to take my child back to go somewhere else to try a procedure that doctors here won't try. And the state intervenes to stop you, saying the child is ours, not yours. It's our decision, not your decision.
That's going on here all the time.
It's indefensible.
They want
morally.
They'll take your child. They take your child and say, "We'll castrate this boy," and you say no, and they say, "Then we'll take your child away from you."
Well, that's California.
Yes,
that's not everywhere, not yet.
But it's happening in the United States.
Yes,
or it's offered.
Glenn, Oakbrook.
Yeah, good morning. The sunsetting of the Invest in Kids program means that poverty will go up in Illinois, and Illinois, you just can't live here if you're raising kids. And if you want to see a state that has a good example of handling education, it's Iowa. But
especially under the school choice expansion under Governor Reynolds. Yes, right. Yep.
Yeah, so I just think this what's going on in this state is just horrible, and it's depressing to watch this happen. But that's the leaders they vote for. So
thanks, Glenn. Well, also too, by the way, the 5 years of the K through 12 Invest in Kids Opportunity Scholarships. The amount of money that was voluntarily donated, so the amount of scholarships that were distributed with the tax credits, we're close to that number with respect to the state and city spend so far, particularly with the $160 million that Jelly Belly announced yesterday. We're close to spending more in the last 12 months to provide housing and wraparound services and the like, rental assistance to people in this country illegally than we did over 5 years providing scholarship money voluntarily through private donations to kids to go to better schools in Chicagoland and in Illinois, which is why there were 9,500 scholarship recipients and a waiting list of almost 30,000. How about that? How about that comparison? How about that dichotomy?
Their success humiliated the Chicago Teachers Union, and so they had to go.
Mm-hmm. That's about it. John in Janesville.
Hi, I want to talk about Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, and he was the one guy who got in a fight in the Senate, and I want to just say he needs to learn to fight like a United States Republican senator, and instead of accepting the challenge to fight from Mr. O'Brien, he needed to compromise, let O'Brien punch him in the kidneys like 4 or 5 times, and then declare victory because he didn't get punched in the face. Thank you.
Okay, a little sarcasm there.
I think the last thing you want to see is politicians fighting, because they fight like baseball players fight. Their chins go up in the air and away from the fists.
Well,
it's really sad to see.
I think Mark Wayne may be an exception to that rule.
Well, he might know what he's doing, but that other guy.
Well, no, Sean O'Brien, no, without which is why it would have been fun. And again, just to make sure we have the record correct, it was Mark Wayne that issued the challenge, and Sean O'Brien that wet himself.
Wait, because Sean O'Brien was talking big, as we
yeah,
say.
Yeah.
So don't talk big.
Remember, Mark Wayne Mullen, or just Mark Wayne. He's my generation's John Wayne, as I said yesterday. So he was an MMA fighter,
a real one.
Yeah. I think he had 5 professional fights. I think he was 5-0, and then he said, "There's probably a better way to make a living," which is smart, because you have to have at least one screw loose to want to fight MMA, and so that's not somebody I'd want to pick a fight with.
Did you talk to my brother Nick on your podcast about the 50 black belts that he put down?
I didn't actually. I wanted to. I wanted to, have him run down the, at least some of the 200 ways he knows how to kill a guy, but we actually didn't get to it.
Also,
I was remiss.
Punching of the beef in my dad's cooler, when Nicky would break the ribs of the beef like Rocky in the cooler. Oh yeah.
He was doing that before Rocky was, or was he imitating Rocky?
I think when it came out in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was hitting the beef too, and my father was upset. Like, don't
stop breaking the beef.
Stop hurting the beef. The people like the beef.
Oh yeah. Speaking of beef, it's good that that this is not the era where you had the grocery store and your dad was selling beef to make ends meet. Pun intended.
Uh-huh.
Because here's where we are today. You ready?
Yes.
I had to get this in.
I have to sit down. Go on.
Please meet World Economic Forum. That's Klaus Schwab's group.
Uh-huh.
Evil genius.
Yeah.
World Economic Forum agenda coordinator, a bioethicist named Matthew Liao. He has a way, because eating beef is not good for the climate, so they say there's
Bill
a way.
Gates doesn't want us to eat beef, yeah.
Well, right, and he doesn't want us to to experience photosynthesis either. But anyway, this is what Liao has in mind, and by extension, World Economic Forum, is to turn you off of beef.
So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
We can re-engineer the Cass family with the Lone Star tick to not like meat, John.
You could go bite yourself, dude. I mean, when you want to take people, human beings, and turn them into soy boys, all you got to do is take the beef steak out of their menu, lamb out of the menu, give them protein of some other kind like tofu and rice, and see how long it takes, maybe a generation, and then you can control them all.
Come on, sing along with Klaus.
Every meal you make, every bite you take, every single lunch with a crispy crunch, you will eat the bugs.
You will eat the bugs.
Do you see this on the screen? This is the answer to that.
Craig in Old Town, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. Hey, John.
Hey.
It's utterly amazing, even the subtle little things that Pritzker gets away with in this town. Like yesterday, he compared the migrant crisis to his family fleeing the Ukrainian pogroms in 1881. Really, JB, I didn't know there were pogroms happening in Venezuela under Maduro right now. This is news. Somebody should tell the CTU. Or are we now saying the Mexican drug cartels are committing a pogrom? I mean, I'm actually open to that idea, but maybe we should do something to address it. Anyway, back to the cost of the migrant shelter business, which, as expected, are spiraling out of control. I'm working on a piece right now for the relaunch of my site next week, and the numbers, just for the basics, are pretty staggering. The state of Illinois has already spent about $500 million caring for just 22,000 migrants, and it's currently costing us about $40 million a month. So Pritzker promises an additional $160 million yesterday. Tony Preckwinkle is planning on tossing in another $100 million from Cook County. And Mayor doesn't do his homework, and the city of Chicago is still waiting on proposals not due until next Wednesday to figure out his costs for 2024. But just looking at the RFPs that have been floating around for the last 6 weeks or so, by my calculations, it's going to cost anywhere from about $105 million to $165 million just to feed them for the next year. Just food. 3 meals per day of culturally appropriate food. And yes, the words culturally appropriate meals are actually in the request for proposals. So
I want to see the menu.
Actually, it's $13 to $17. That's what their anticipated cost.
What do they have in? Like strip steak?
Culturally appropriate food. That's what the actual words say.
Oxtails.
Culturally appropriate food
Short
per
ribs.
migrant. Yeah.
Craig in Old Town, thank you as always. Craig, it's been a while since we've heard from you, but I always love he's composed something, so he is very tight and very pointed and fact intensive. Always good reviews.
I try. I need to impress you.
I can't wait till the site's back up. I mean, that's a good source. By the way, if he's right that it's already, if you're right that's it's already at $500 million, then that would exceed the amount of money that was raised privately to provide scholarships to kids to go to better schools.
Well, yeah, because we haven't even talked about the healthcare staffing that is bordering on a scam. I mean, we're going through there. We're not talking about transportation costs. We're not talking about security. We're not talking about any of that. I mean, that's just those numbers are just for food that I was quoting, and I can even break down the numbers further for you. But we can save that for a different time. I know you got a lot to get to.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. Good call. Nick, Northwest Side.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, good morning to both you and everybody. These migrants, I'll use that word, they're going to be to Trump and probably cause him to lose the election the way the coronavirus caused him to lose the election. There'll be these are a lot of young men. I see them around in different areas, tattoos on their necks. But anyhow, they're going to be given IDs, which would be driver's licenses, to try to show that they're being kept track of. When you're getting a driver's license, in most states, you're automatically registered to vote. Therefore, ballots will be mailed out. Whether they're allowed to vote or not doesn't matter. Those ballots are legitimate, and they'll be gathered up, and Trump won't make it. A lot of people just got to get out and vote, and that's the only way to deal with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
I want to know what the little tear, what does that mean on the face? The tear on the face.
The tear tattoo?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Doesn't that mean you killed somebody?
I don't know.
That's what I thought in gangland iconography that's what it meant.
Yeah, well, I thought they could ask the people in Virginia who voted for the Democratic legislature.
Mike and Hammond.
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, after hearing the translator for Xi Jinping, it gave me a brilliant idea. I think we can use that same translator for Biden when he gets halfway through a public speaking and loses his way. For him and Cream Puff Jim from the Sean Thompson Show. Be nice to hear it.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
I love it when I can listen to a show and I get a reference to WKRP and Rocky in the same segment.
There you go.
So, John, it's good hearing you. And to that fact, it's a cultural reference. And the thing is, anybody under 25 gets their news from TikTok, and TikTok sounds to me it's named appropriated because it's just a mental time bomb in anybody who's under 25 years old. And the thing is, the Republicans or the conservatives more have to counter that. And it's not just a matter of getting upset about it. It's not. I don't think conservatives should go out and protest because they're working, but they should get out and get involved to get ready for the next election.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Mary in Michigan City, Indiana.
Mary. Hey, neighbor.
Hi. Yes, right, from Union Avenue. Do you know what? Were you living down on Peoria when Joe Burke was our alderman?
Yeah, I just wrote about it at John Cass News a few days ago. Joe Burke was the alderman selected by Judge McDermott.
Right.
And,
but anyway, I went to all through school with Eddie Burke. But anyway, make this story short if I can.
Yeah.
He had all the trees taken down on our block on 53rd and Union.
Why?
And they didn't take down the 2 trees in front of our house. So my mom kept calling Joe's the ward office. Joe, where are my trees? Where are my trees? She was constantly calling him. So any day, the doorbell rings. My mom goes down. We were on the second floor. She goes down, and there's a man at the door, and he's got a suit on. He said, "We're here to put in the trees." And she's looking. There's no truck. Anyway, they go out. There's a Cadillac there with 2 young trees hanging out the back of the car. 3 men got out, and they all had shovels. They dug the holes, and they planted the trees.
Thanks for the call, Mary. They had probably just gotten done digging some other holes. Chuck and Delavan to close it out. Quickly, Chuck.
Hey, as far as the Chinese guy, my grandpa said that anybody that eats a dog, don't trust them. Hey, today's a big day. Lake Geneva Badgers, the football team's going to state finals. They had their last supper last night with 70 slabs of ribs donated by the Mars. You guys get a chance, get over to Champs or get over to Magpies and watch the game. And as far as the gang tears, they're crying for somebody that was in their gang that was killed.
Thanks for the call, Chuck. Open Mic Friday presented by Turnkey.pro, your small business partner. Turnkey.pro. John Cass, thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We turn it over to Mike Scott.
CTA train crash near the Howard station leads to dozens hurt. WIND Chicago News Time, 9 o'clock.
Friendship and collaboration. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. It's been the tone of President Biden's meetings with Asia-Pacific leaders at a summit wrapping up today in San Francisco, while he admits continued differences in what he hopes is a thawing relationship with China. Fox business correspondent Edward Lawrence.
The outflow of investments from the United States to China in the third quarter actually shrank. In fact, the Chinese have seen 3 direct quarters of negative direct financial investment from the U.S. Now, business leaders here say that puts the U.S. in a very strong position to force changes